I said that while we were live, Ryan. Come on, man. Come on. Look at Danny Palm's face. He's like Ryan ruined the surprise.
Yeah, they would have had to have been like, for
Right
the
there.
live
Waiting
people.
room.
Yeah.
We can cut that for the.
I'm interested if anybody did hear that comment and say like, yeah, I heard Ryan spoil it.
Yeah.
But we're live. Danny Palm says we're live. So welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of the Pittsburgh Combat Sports Podcast.
This is a special episode.
Super special one right here. So we have, as you guys have seen on Instagram, we've been hyping it today, a special mystery guest. I'm looking at him, but you guys can't see him, so that's awesome. Some of you still don't know who's sitting across the table from us. So should we just do the honors right now and flip the camera to him?
I don't know.
Drag this out more?
Let's drag it out. I think
All right.
there's people are starting to tune in.
Maybe let him talk first without putting the camera on him to see if anybody can decipher his voice.
Hi, hello. This is
Yeah, there you go. Oh, yes. Mystery voice. Hey, mystery man.
That's awesome. The technology these days. All right, Danny, give the good people what they want. They've been waiting all day. Show them who's here. We have Mr.
there. He is.
The boss. There it is.
He hit the wrong button.
We need a Danny cam because Danny's face when he just made that blunder was pretty priceless.
Yeah.
Pretty priceless. But Isaac, welcome, man. It's truly an honor to have you here, obviously, and for crazy reasons. Like, we'll get to all that, but thanks, man.
Yeah, honor to be here, guys. Super stoked.
So you came straight from Clarion. That was a pro move. I'll say, like, sometimes it's hard to get people in the studio. Bridgeville isn't super close for people. Totally get that. But you were like,
Especially when you're in New Kensington, and like
right.
Lower Burgh.
Yeah, but I texted you, I think, like maybe Monday, and you were like, Thursday I'm in Clarion until 6, and then I'll come right after that. So thanks, man. That meant a lot.
No, that worked out perfect for me. This is my night. Usually I take off, so
So we put you to work on his one night off of his life.
Yeah.
no, it's good. That worked out perfect for me. So honored to be here. Pumped to hype this up and excited for what you guys are doing for the not only the MMA scene but the grappling scene here in Pittsburgh. It's been pretty amazing to watch. So
For sure, man. We appreciate that. And this grappling card is something that we've been tossing around for a while, for sure. And the timing was just right for this one. And the way the card came together, man, it's been nuts. I mean, you've seen the announcements. So many of your guys and girls are on the card, so you know. But we're just super honored to be putting together a card like this. And then to have you join it, just that was icing on the cake for sure, man. That was awesome.
Wait, what?
Join
what?
Oh, you guys haven't heard about this grappling event at the Monroeville Convention Center on July 14th?
No, but he's joining. Did we?
Why else would he be here looking all lean with a bottle of water?
Here's the thing.
my jug of water.
Yeah.
He looks that way regardless.
Dude, have you ever not had a six-pack in your life?
Oh yeah, for
Yeah?
sure.
Was there ever
That
like
was when he got it to 8.
Yeah. Was there ever an actual out-of-shape period of your life, though?
Yeah, for sure. No, anytime you get injured, I've had ACL surgery, so I've been on the shelf before and not been able to do much. So I'm an Italian, mainly. So I have a very bad, my wife can attest to this. Like I have a sweet tooth and I like food of all kinds. So I eat a lot and I snack all day. So if I didn't work out like I did, I'm sure it'd be not pretty.
You'd be looking like me, bro.
He's like, no, not that
More like
bad.
Danny DeVito, probably.
I would never let myself get like that. Like
Look
you,
good, Ryan.
Ryan.
Come on.
That's awesome.
Just so you know, you can pick this up and like pull it right to
Yeah,
you.
if you got
Okay.
to.
But I just like it. The closer it is to you, the better it's gonna sound.
Sure.
That's all.
For sure. What are the top 5 Isaac Greeley snacks? Like cheat snacks?
Oh boy, that's tough. I like Twizzler bites.
Wow, what a weird, like that's an off the wall pick.
That's
Nobody
one-
ever
That
says
says
that.
I'm 45.
I've had that since college. That was my wrestling snack to go to. I still do it. I like anything licorice. I like the new licorice stuff. The natural licorice is great. And I don't know. I
Have
can
you
pick
had
up anything.
Have you had the ones that are filled inside with like the
I
yellow
have.
stuff?
I have. That's next level. I have to
Dude.
be. I have to really treat myself to do that one.
Yeah, those are special.
Yeah.
Do you
That's a lot
like
of sugar?
Yeah, do you like black and red licorice?
I'm more of a red licorice guy, but
Fair.
you know, I will dip into the black licorice if it's the only choice. But I'm mainly red licorice.
Okay, that's good. That's
Yeah.
a
any
wild
kind
pick.
of gummy things I love. Like
Are
gummy.
you a Sour Patch Kid guy too, or
a
no?
little bit? A little bit. I'm more like the fruit snacks type. That kind of stuff. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, those are my favorites for sure.
I like asking because Danny Palm actually used to review snacks, and I've been trying to get him to like bring it back because it's really funny. He's super passionate about candy, and he loves sour candies. And it's just funny to get on a roll with him talking about his favorite candies because this dude's like, he's an encyclopedia of wrestling and sour candies.
I'll have to
Like,
compare notes with him on that.
honestly,
Oh,
yeah, dude, on both. Like,
Yeah.
you guys, if we got Danny Palm, Isaac, and Mike Wilkins on a wrestling
Oh, boy,
podcast, dude,
yeah.
it would be like encyclopedia
Yeah.
stuff.
Let's make it happen.
Dude, yeah, we really should make that happen.
Mike's
That'd
one of
be
my
fun.
favorite people, so wherever Mike goes, I'll be there for sure.
Nice. Well, there we go. It is written. We'll do the wrestling podcast. But for now, grappling Isaac, we need to. I like dragging it out, but we do need to tell the good people. You are competing at Sprawl in the Burgh in a grappling super fight, July 14th. Who are you facing?
I'm facing Gray Maynard, UFC legend. Super pumped to even share the mat with him, but more importantly, the cage. I guess
Yeah.
that's his domain. So it's gonna be fun. I mean, he's a legend, and when you and I had talked about this a long time ago, it's kind of a pipe dream, but you guys made it happen, and I respect Gray, tremendously, and I've always been a huge fan of his. So it's kind of like a little, awestruck moment to be able to do that. So Gray Maynard, let's go.
Crazy, man. We're super honored to put that together, guys. Obviously, like Isaac said, it was kind of funny because you have like, I would say 8 Mat Factory competitors on this card off the top of my head. And you had probably 6 at the time. And I was like, how would you feel about this? And you were like, I was thinking about just coaching since I have so many guys, but if it's Gray Maynard, I'm going to have to do it.
Yeah, I couldn't say no to that. For
Yeah.
sure.
It's how, like, to me as a matchup, it's super interesting. And I know I reached out to you personally when we were actually looking for Dempsey at first. I was like, I need you to help me gauge if this is a fair grappling matchup. Gray technically is a blue belt, obviously has a great wrestling background, all the UFC experience. Like, how does that really work for no gi?
I mean, at that level, I mean, it's he's a black belt.
Right,
He's the highest level there is, as far as I'm concerned. This is wrestling pedigree alone. He's a 3-time All-American, Division I wrestler, and he's got all that cage time and training. So, he's the kind of guy that I'd like to test my skills against and my mental fortitude. He's going to bring a pace, and I'm just excited to better myself and have fun. I'm very grateful at this point in my life just to be able to do this kind of stuff. So it's just all cherry on top for me.
That's awesome, man. He looks good. I'll say, like, he sent his pictures in for the poster, and we weren't sure. Like, we don't know how much he's been training or competing or whatever, but looks like Gray Maynard still for sure. It's awesome.
He's in shape. He's recently did a seminar at one of my friends' gyms in Maryland, Chris Bauer, and Chris spoke very highly of him and how impressed he was with him, and that he said he's still a stud, and that was a few months ago. So I knew he was in shape. I knew that he's going to bring the hammer. So I'm going to have to get in shape and let it fly.
Two legends in the lone.
I don't know. I think Gray's a little next level.
Well, hey, so I mean, we're talking. This is Pittsburgh. You're a legend, bro. This bout's happening in Pittsburgh. You guys have equal legendary status here where the event's taking place. So the lone Hall of Famer from of ours, 247 Fighting Championships lone Hall of Famer. We're just so stoked. So, like, this is a dream come true for us too, because when we think of Pittsburgh MMA and Pittsburgh combat sports and grappling and all those things, like, you're the person. You're the person that's been doing it and kind of takes so many people under their wings, whether they're on, considered a Mat Factory person or not. And so you've done so much, and to have you in our cage is just absolutely awesome.
Yeah, I mean, it's been fun to watch the whole progression of MMA and in Pittsburgh and grappling because you know when I started grappling, it really wasn't a thing, very little. And now to see where it's at with so many great gyms, so many great instructors, so many great grapplers, the level that Pittsburgh has is, you know, on a national level, it's very underrated. So I think you know, we're about to have our coming out party. We've been building. When I say we, I mean the city as a whole, and we're starting to develop the, you know, the highest level grapplers in the world. So you know, got guys like Chris Dempsey leading the way, and there's so many more that are just doing amazing things. So I think just, you know, continuing to keep that growing and to see where it goes is going to be exciting. And I think this kind of event is going to even take it to the next level. You know, we're going to attract more athletes. People are going to catch people's eyes. We're going to get old wrestlers back into the sport, football players. So, you know, it's great because there's so many people from different walks of life that can enjoy the sport for different reasons. And obviously, you know, my gym is a very competitor-driven gym, but we still have every day, you know, 9 to 5, you know, blue collar workers. We have mothers, we have single mothers, we have, you know, grandfathers that train, you know, in our gym just as hard as everybody. So it's amazing to see. It's been a blessing in my life. I don't know where I'd be without it. And obviously the MMA, you know, complements it very well. And to be able to see those young kids just going after their dreams is pretty special, especially Pittsburgh. We're a steel city. We're a blue collar tough area. There's not many of them left. And with the wrestling pedigree that we've produced over the last, you know, 50, 60 years, it's kind of like this is what the next step's going to be for the guys that want to, you know, once they retire or graduate. So I hope that we can attract that more.
Yeah.
Hunter just did a podcast with Chris and with Dempsey. I don't know if you were able to see it or not, but one thing that surprised us is how little of a fan of like the grappling scene that he's so good at it, and like, but he doesn't really pay attention to like the national scene. How much of a fan are you of like the grappling scene?
So I'm a kind of like a mega fan, like Danny and Candy. I'm that way with grappling, like Mike Wilkins with wrestling, you know. You know, I've been pretty entrenched in the sport for a while, and once you start competing, you get to meet people. You know, we have friends from all over the country, and it's a big fraternity, a lot like wrestling. But yeah, Chris is. I have so many good stories about Chris, just from people like he just doesn't have a clue. He's hilarious. But you know, but he's focused, he's driven, he knows his game, and he does know more than he's leading on to. He knows who people are and who they are, what they're about. So
yeah.
One thing about Chris is he never has been awestruck. I've never seen him once be like, oh wow, that guy, ever. We've been around, you know, Anderson Silva and, you know, all these, you know, high level MMA fighters, and he says Conor McGregor, and he's like, oh, who's that? So
Who's that?
The one time I did see him get excited was he was sitting down, and he told me, he's like, Joe Rogan's sitting right next to me. And I said, where? What are you talking about? So I'm looking around. I said, Dana White? That's Dana White. He goes, oh, Dana. I said, that's your boss, Dempsey. You need to know the difference.
Oh my goodness.
Like, oh,
dude, that is the best. That is Chris Dempsey if I've ever heard it.
Oh my
that was
God.
a good one. I'm like, I was just shaking my head. I'm like, you're something else.
Joe Rogan's right beside me.
Who have you, like, who has been that guy for you, like where you were like, oh my goodness, there's that person?
I mean, I remember Conor. You know, I thought he was going to be something special. We saw his first main event in Ireland against Diego Brandao, which we were friends with Diego. And we were training with him all week. We thought Diego was going to win that fight for sure. I just saw I saw the star power that he had, and I saw the games that he was playing. And maybe not then, but when I came back, I remember telling like Kama and the guys, I'm like, man, he really has the lock on how to play the game. Like he has the mental game down, and I thought that was pretty exciting to see. I wouldn't say I was awestruck. I do remember at my first Pan American Championships, I had won, and I'd come off the mat, and Marcelo Garcia was standing on the side of the mat and like gave me a pat, and then I was just like, did that really just happen?
Yeah,
that was pretty cool. But I've been on the mat, you know, competing next to guys like Rafael Lovato Jr., who I consider, you know, one of the best ever in America. So I kind of get more awestruck. I mean, I've been around wrestling my whole life, so it's kind of different because I see that, you know, the high level guys often, and we're kind of in the same fraternity. So I'd say Dan Gable would have been one of them. I remember riding an Airdyne bike with Dan Gable at Iowa when we moved Jody Strickmatter out there years ago, and just being on a bike next to him, and he wanted to talk about fishing, which I thought was awesome. I'm a big fisherman, so that was pretty awestruck moment for me. But yeah, besides that, that's, you know, pretty much, you know, we see people, you know, tons of respect for a lot of people out there, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's crazy that you speak of with. I'll jump back to Connor just for a second. You said a lot that I want to talk about, but Connor, like you said, his star power was so apparent from the beginning. It was cool that you could see that even from the sidelines. Like you as a coach, how do you handle? And this is more of a skill thing than the star power, but you have guys for, like you just said, all walks, people who want to be pros in the UFC, all the way down to 9-to-5ers that are just there to get in shape and learn grappling. How do you handle like managing their careers along their way in that regard? Not showing favoritism, not knowing like this guy's got a little more natural talent than this guy, but I'm going to treat him the same. Or do you not treat them the same?
That's a loaded question for me because for a lot of reasons. Just because of the state that I'm like where I'm at in my coaching, you know, progression. I obviously want to be around the very best and the people that are the most driven. That's like in my heart. Like, you know, I've been around, I've paid my dues. I've been around everything from youth wrestling all the way up through college wrestling to, you know, low level MMA to the highest levels. So I really look for someone that really wants to pour it out and go after it. I mean, those are the ones that I really like to see and put the energy into. But the other part of it is I love to see people reach their potential and go past it. Like that was indoctrinated into me from my college wrestling coach, Pat Pecora, because he was the best at driving the potential out of people, and he could push buttons different way, and he was just the master at it. Like he knew what one guy needed compared to another guy. Chris Dempsey can kind of explain that, I'm sure too. But just seeing him do that really gave me a lot of understanding of that. And then to see Chris Como, who I've coached with for years at the Math Factory and at Burgh, and Josh Shields now, who's the head coach at Burgh, watch them do the same thing at a high level and to see where they can get kids to be. It's kind of addicting. And once you can see, like you take a kid and you see how good how good they can be, and then you see it and they exceed that. That's special, and that really like feeds me, makes me want to keep doing it forever.
Is it the same across sports when guys do that? Because for us, I mean, this is probably just our bias as in primarily MMA promotion. I feel like fighting, specifically MMA, when you see somebody do it in MMA, it's so special because the stakes are so high. It's not just losing a wrestling match. It's potentially getting knocked out. Could be a career-ending knockout. You never know in that sport. So is it particularly rewarding when one of your fighters does it versus just wrestling, or does it feel the same for you no matter what?
I mean, honestly, MMA is the pinnacle because there's so many variables, like you said. Like 4-ounce gloves are no joke, and it's so dynamic. So, you know people are the talents there. They can do it. It's just getting out there and doing it. You know, it's the hard part. Wrestling is a little, you know, it's a little more forgiving, and the better guy usually always wins. So, MMA, it's tricky because there's just, you know, there's jiu-jitsu, there's wrestling, there's kickboxing, there's transitional stuff. So, you know, I'd say that MMA is probably the hardest one to gauge as far as that goes. But that being said, the kids with the most heart, usually in MMA, if you know they have the heart for it and they can grind through stuff and you know that they can weather the storm, those are the kids that are going to make it far in, you know, MMA, the men and women.
You have to, as a coach and as a mentor to a lot of people, you end up dealing with a lot of different personalities and a lot of ultimately, like, there's the good side of it, but then there's the very difficult side of it. I know that you see kids that sabotage themselves and self-sabotage and you know, that kind of thing. How hard is that? How difficult is that, going through that difficult side of being a coach and mentor to people and watching them fail at times too, personally as well as, you know?
Well, I mean, the most important thing is they have to fail because you have to see what they're really made of. So it's not the worst thing, right? So obviously I like to see not failure, but how they react to failure. Once you can understand the mental side of with how they handle failure, you can kind of understand how they're going to progress and how fast they're going to progress. Failures is part of the sport. You know, it is. I mean, even it might not be in the cage, but it might be in the practice room. You know, I mean, if you're not dealing with failure on a daily basis, your progression is going to be a lot tougher to get through. So, I think helping as a coach is just getting to understand the big picture. You know, I think a lot of people, especially in MMA, they make it a finite type thing. Like, I'm going to get to this fight, and after the fight's over, I'm not thinking past it. You have to think big picture with fighting, MMA fighting. We got guys like that are progressing through right now that I'm trying to get them to understand the big picture. And I think helping them do that it really helps them understand, like, this is a long-term thing. If I'm really committed to this, I'm going to have my ups and downs. I got to ride the middle. I can't ride the highs and lows. And as soon as the fight's over, if I'm healthy, I have to get right back in the gym, right? I can't take a break. I can't, celebrate too much. I mean, obviously you got to, slow things down, but if you want to progress in the sport, especially as fast as it's moving, you have to stay up to date. You have to stay training. You have to keep learning. There's so much to learn in MMA too. It's unbelievable. Like wrestling, you can kind of get good at what you're good at and ride it out, but MMA, it's just always evolving, and there's just so many more weapons that are getting thrown into the picture. There's so much more defenses you have to understand, concepts, and the best MMA coaches and guys are ahead of that all the time.
Yeah, I feel like the last like 3 years, I feel like the MMA, the top level MMA game has really shifted and advanced like pretty like rapidly.
It has for
in the
sure.
last couple of years.
Yeah, I think there's a real case to be made that kind of the number 10 ranked guy in a UFC, any given UFC division, could have been the champ 5 years ago, 10 years ago for sure.
Yeah.
But now, like, those, lower ranked guys are totally at a different level. And then that just shows you where the champs must be then.
I mean, the biggest thing that I've seen is amateur MMA. So when we started amateur MMA, when I started coaching it, it was basically we could get away with just wrestle, hold people down, look for one submission, and that's kind of how we gauge things. Work on our defense for our boxing, and have a few strikes that we know that we can get to. And then now the amateur MMA almost looks like pro MMA, like you said 3 or 4 years ago. Amateur MMA right now is dynamic. You go to an amateur, you watch amateurs at the fights, 247 fights, last month. I mean, you're like almost watching pro level fights right out of the gate. These kids already have boxing coaches, kickboxing coaches, grappling coaches, wrestling coaches, MMA coaches, strength and conditioning. And that's, I think, when they start, really doing all that, it really brings everything together. So I've noticed a big change in it. And I'm doing my best to keep up with it. Chris Dempsey's doing his best to keep up with it. Matt Schaefer's doing his best at the Math Factory to keep up with everything. But it's a nonstop. It's not like it used to be where we could just ride it out for just get a tough kid and teach him how to grit it out. It's not like that.
Have you ever had, or I'm sure you have you had guys that like were training at the highest levels that were not necessarily looking to compete, and you're like, you need to get in there and compete? And like, has there been a guy that you're like, I can't believe he never competed?
So I have many of those in my gym. There's so many of them. And I get it, it's not for everyone, because when you compete, it's a whole different thing, because you're dealing with emotions. I mean, I'm going to go through it all. I go through it. It never changes. I mean, I remember the same butterflies I had when I was 9 years old, driving to my first wrestling tournament. Driving to Monroeville Convention Center after work on July 14th to get in a cage. I'm going to have the same butterflies, and I know what those guys go through. That's why I take a lot of pride in the fact that Chris and I like to get out there and like at least know, we understand what you guys are going through. It's hard. And if you've never been through it, it's very hard to explain, because every sense is multiplied. Every little problem is compounded. It's just, your emotions are just at a different level. And then these guys have to worry about making weight on top of it and managing girlfriends and family and this and that, kids, some of them. So it's very tough. So I know what they go through. I give them a lot of credit. So when they go through this stuff, it's nice to see that. On the other end of it, some people just have a 9 to 5 and they have families at home. They just want to come into the gym and work out, and I get that. So they don't have to go through that, right? But in the gym, we have some gym killers. We have guys that no one has ever heard of. We have girls that no one has ever heard of.
So is there a name that you're like, I wish this person would have competed?
In jiu-jitsu, MMA, or
MMA.
MMA? MMA is tough because most of the guys at least wet their toes a little bit. There's definitely guys that I would like to have seen their careers play out. You know, didn't really give them, they had it. I know Ryan Areola is one of them. I'd like to see his, I would have loved to see his MMA career play
What
out.
he could have done, yeah.
Yeah. Jason Cardillo.
Oh,
you know,
man,
just
same. That's the one for me.
He's trying to bring
Yeah.
him back.
Yeah, dude.
You know, I watched Jason fight back in the day. I think he was on the same path as like Milstead Dempsey, I thought. You know, in our gym, we're more of a grappling heavy gym. Most of our MMA guys all fight. We do have just people that come and train. So MMA, but I mean, I have some grapplers that would do very well. You know, people that they come in. I get guys that come into our gym, like my friends will come in that are, you know, high level grapplers, and they'll be like, "Who is this guy? Never even heard of him." And I'm like, "Oh yeah,
He's a killer.
Who's that guy? Who's that guy?" And I'm like, "Who's that girl?" And I'm like, "They're killers. I don't know."
Well, I
That's
just
so
think
cool.
of like Jermaine and like
Jermaine.
if he would have never like fought, we would have never got to see that.
So Jermaine was one of them. You know, I knew Jermaine. He'd come. You know, he's in the gym working. I'm like, "Let's do a fight." And Jermaine's like, "You think so?" He says, "You know," I'm like, "Yeah, why not? Like, you're so athletic and you're great at this. Like, this is built for you." He's
Dude,
like,
that story of his fight is like one
"Oh,
of
it's
my
epic.
favorites.
It's epic."
One of my favorites.
Yeah.
If you've never heard that story, like you'll have to,
Yeah.
we'll have to revisit that.
Oh,
For sure.
It's hilarious.
The best part about that fight was, for me, Jermaine got the guy there.
This
right.
is what I
Got the guy there, and he's being so nice. This guy, like, "Thank you so much gratitude. My family's all here, my kids, my mother-in-law's out there, my wife." And the guy's like, "No problem, man. I'll do. You know, I'm just here to have fun." And right before the fight, we're in the back warming up, and Jermaine's jumping around, starts self-talking, and the guy's right behind him. He's like, "I'm gonna kill this guy. I'm gonna kill him. I'm gonna blah blah blah." And I'm like, I thought it was like right before a football game, right? He's got himself hyped up. He's just going off. I turn around and look at him, and I look at the guy behind him. This guy's eyes like,
What
"Is this
happened?
the same guy? What's going on?" Jermaine goes out and murks the guy, and then gets up and hugs him. "God, thanks." So, and they're in the back, and the guys are still scared, like looking around, and Jermaine's just like,
That's
I'm like, "Jermaine, you kind of blanked there. Do you know what you were saying?" He's like, "No, what'd I say?" And I'm like, "Oh, you just told the guy you're gonna rip his arms off and kill him."
When the cage doors closed, Jermaine
so awesome.
starts staring him down, being like, "They lied to you.
Yeah.
They set you
That's
up.
so
I'm gonna
good.
kill you."
Oh, he was saying in the
That's so
back, he
good.
was saying the whole thing, and I was looking at the guy, I'm like, "Is he being serious?" I'm like, "No, he's
So-
just talking."
The interesting layer to this, though, is that you're saying that Jermaine was just kind of blacked out in the zone. This wasn't like premeditated
I don't
trash
think
talk.
so. I don't believe so. I think it was just he just got himself in the zone, and
That's so
he
awesome.
just yeah.
I'm thinking it was premeditated. Jermaine talks so much
Oh.
smack.
He's got to be top 10 all time.
Yeah.
In
Across
Pittsburgh-
any sport.
In Pittsburgh, for sure. I mean, just to hear, I mean, he's down in Florida now, but when he's home and when he trains, it's like when him and Dempsey and those guys are going at it, and they're just trash talking each other. It's unbelievable.
Dempsey talking about Jermaine on the podcast was one of my favorite clips in the podcast
Yeah.
history. So I want to throw it to you, a third party. The question was, how many times would Dempsey submit Jermaine in a 10-minute match? Dempsey gets $1,000 every time he makes Jermaine tap
He
out.
said he's gonna
Well,
retire.
one thing about Jermaine, he has a really good darce choke. Like, it's very tight.
I could
So
see
he can't
that.
get anybody in that.
Yeah.
Like, it's tight. He's got real long arms, super strong, knows how to use it. So I'm going to say he probably catches Dempsey. Because Dempsey's going to walk in real chill, you know, and then Jermaine's going to be like, yeah. And he's going to jump on him. And he's going to probably throw on the darts. And then Dempsey's going to get real mad. And I'm going to say probably like 30.
That's the best.
That's all.
All right, Dempsey, you got $30,000 to win against Jermaine. That's beautiful.
How long is it?
10 minutes. 10
Jermaine,
minutes.
in Jermaine's defense, he'll talk trash the whole time, though.
That's
So-
awesome.
Yeah.
I love that.
I think like after Leon versus Barch, like those two just need to
Yeah.
have it out in the cage.
You know what's funny
Not
is
in a
that
cage, no.
we
Don't do that.
we haven't even announced that one yet. The second, you kind of gave it away there. Well,
No, I didn't
Jermaine
say
will be there. We'll just say that.
PJ Barch is. We already announced Leon and Barch.
Yeah,
Speaking
yeah.
of that match, is gonna be as
Yeah.
a grappling fan.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the ADCC level. That could be the like a finals of ADCC
Yeah.
right here in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I wanted to get your thoughts on that one for sure. I was going to loop around to that because you know PJ pretty well. I don't know exactly how though, so I wanted to pick your brain of where that connection started.
So PJ, he was born in Natrona Heights, and then he moved to Maryland, wrestled at Bloomsburg. So he's a 10th Planet guy, and we've gotten to be pretty good friends with Renee and the 10th Planet Bethlehem crew, and Gabe Tuttle out in Arizona. So we've been Alston, Texas. I'm sorry. We've been pretty close with those guys, and PJ's in that same group. So PJ was coming home then just to see family. So I'm like, dude, if you're coming home, you got to do a seminar here. So he came back and worked out, trained with us, and did a seminar, and got to be pretty good friends with him, and been to tournaments, ADCC trials and stuff, and hanging out with him and the crew. So PJ's super cool. Great grappler, great wrestler on top of it. But Dante's Dante, so that match is gonna be good.
It's so sick, and they're both kind of in the primes of their career, I would say too, if not maybe not even there yet, still on the rise for both of them. So it's really cool to have it at this level, and I think they've split their matchups in the past, so it's awesome, man.
And I'm telling you, I've competed in the cage. I did a match not too long ago. It's a different animal. It's different. It's not on a mat. There's no out of bounds. The time rolls straight through. 10-minute match is gonna feel like 30.
Mm-hmm.
It's different. You don't get the mental breaks that you would get normally. But those guys are pros. They know how to handle this stuff. But cage wrestling is another thing that it's like Gray Maynard's gonna bring it to me. Like I know what cage wrestling is. It's a different type of wrestling,
Mm-hmm.
and having any kind of experience edge there is going to be big. So I don't know who's working their cage wrestling, if they are at all.
Yeah.
But that match is going to probably end up on the cage at some point. So it's going to be very interesting and dynamic, something we wouldn't see maybe, at an ADCC or IBJJF matchup.
Right. One thing I was really excited about when I called Dante Leon to just kind of start gauging his interest on it, and told him it was going to be in a cage. And I was worried about that. I thought a lot of traditional grapplers would be like, oh, cage, dude. Nah, like I'm not going to do it in a cage. He was excited by it. He was like, oh, that's so cool. Like I'm going to get to grapple in a cage. It was like a selling point for him, whereas I thought it was going to be a hang up. So that makes me really interested.
A lot of guys like that get people that run from them, right? And that's a big part of, if you're going to game plan against one of those guys, you're not going to want to probably stand in the middle. You want to play the edges, right? Just in case you get in trouble. So they're not going to be able to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So that adds a lot of different dynamic into a grappling match. So I think it's going to be super cool.
I'm hyped, man. Is PJ having a seminar after Sprawl in the Burgh for you?
Yeah, we plan on having one either at our gym or at High Ground because it's right there.
Mm-hmm.
There's a High Ground gym right there. And Tommy and I talked about doing that. We did it, but there one there before with him. So I think that's what our plan is going to be.
That's like doubly. We were talking at the very beginning about how this is kind of growing the grappling community and the combat sports community in Pittsburgh. Having a guy like PJ do a seminar, and Dante's doing a seminar on Sunday at Stout. So to not only have these guys coming in to compete, but then sticking around to share their wealth of knowledge, and like you said, they're two of the top 5 guys in the world in their weight classes. So to have those guys come compete and then pass it on to everybody here, man, it's freaking huge. It's awesome.
Getting guys like that anytime you get them in here is awesome. And Stout does a great job always bringing in top level guys. So, we try to do the same. And then really that's how you're going to really progress. If you get those guys in here showing you their best stuff, I mean, that's how I think we've really progressed the most in the last couple of years is we're bringing in, top level guys in different areas where we need weaknesses. We have weaknesses we need to tighten up, or offense we want to get better at. We're always looking to try to bring people in. We have a great seminar lineup this summer already. So bringing PJ in is going to be amazing. So
that's huge. One thing I thought was super interesting with matching Sprawl in the Burgh was just in general how much easier it was than MMA to get people to agree.
Much
it's so easy.
different.
I'm doing one. We did one last year. Did my first one. We're doing one August 6th in New Kensington.
I just saw that.
My friend runs a festival, so I did it last year. It was so cool, fun. I mean, and Jim was just at the gym Tuesday, and he's just showing me like he's just scrolling through his like matchup things. It's crazy. said, "What do you think about this guy and that guy?" I'm like, I mean, he had it all down. Like, I mean, the thing about jiu-jitsu is, it's a little bit like wrestling in a fact. Like, you're not going to get people backing out as easy as MMA, right? MMA is frustrating because you get something, they're training hard, first of all, doing a lot of crazy stuff. So they can get hurt all the way up to fight week, let alone all the other, or during fight week. Yeah,
that's what drives me crazy.
Jiu-jitsu is a lot less likely, although that's always a possibility
of course.
for some reason. But and people are, I mean, it's just a grappling match. What I always say is like, listen, you're not getting punched in the face. Now you tell myself this. I'm not getting punched. I'm not getting kicked in the shins. I'm not getting punched in the face. So it's not that bad.
Yeah. Hopefully Gray doesn't, like, his instincts just kick in. He's in a cage. The lights go down. He's like,
if he does, I'll take a policy out of that.
There we go. There we go. That's awesome, man. But yeah, even to the level of, I know you and Stout are super closely connected. You guys cross train a lot, but even to the point that we have a matchup like Jake Lowry and Tanner Hall. Whereas in MMA, that would never happen. We never do that.
Yeah.
So it's cool for us to be able to do stuff like that in the cage.
I mean,
for grappling.
we would do it. It's just
grappling. I mean, yeah, because these guys compete a lot of time every weekend. Especially the local tournaments. We love Tanner. Tanner trains with us, and he's like one of our brothers. So,
and you competed with him in Cincinnati.
Also, he came along with us. I coached him. He coached me. Jake was with us. It was us three. Yeah. Brian Marska came, so we had a blast. But we do that stuff all the time. That's kind of the stuff we love to do. And grappling, like I said, you can grapple, and it's great because we need to get Jake's feet back wet, and this is perfect. And I know how high level Tanner is, so Tanner's gonna bring, make Jake really prepare properly, and not leave any stones unturned. And Tanner's gonna do the same thing. So, and they're both. I mean, it's a win-win. Tanner's already a world medalist in jiu-jitsu, and Jake's one of the best MMA fighters in the country. So, and Jake's a great grappler on top of it. So that's gonna be a sick match.
Oh, dude, I'm so pumped. If we went through the card, I'd get like, there's so many good matchups. Like you were saying about Jim's little black book, like shout out Jim Mooney, our matchmaker. He's been very busy with this card, needless to say. And Danny Palms helped out a ton with this one as well. Because like I said, he's the encyclopedia. He lives for wrestling and grappling, man.
Yeah,
so.
I'll tell you guys, usually it's tough if you don't know the sport, because jiu-jitsu, there's definitely, because you can say a blue belt, but you might have a blue belt that can beat a purple belt or brown belt even. So you get a blue belt versus blue belt matchup. It can be a little off-centered, but pretty much all the matchups we got are very even. And I like them all. So
sweet.
I think it's all going to be competitive for sure.
It's a challenge, especially with no gi, like we were talking about earlier. Like technically, perfect example, Gray Maynard's a blue belt, like we said, but we're not going to put him against your average blue belt. Obviously, it's not going to be a competitive matchup.
I remember Gray. I was in Brazil training in, I don't think it was like 2006 or so, and there was already a legend there of Gray going to down there beating up the guys down there. I was like, I'm Gray Maynard's a bad dude. So just to hear that all the way back then, so
that's crazy, man. So I don't know, and I'll tell the story. If I ruin it, Gray, you can't punch me when you see me, but you can. I don't know. Leg kick me lightly.
You can
that'd be worse.
Lightly.
You can totally punch him in the cage.
But I actually asked him about that because so just to back it up even a second more, Mando Gutierrez, who's on the Ultimate Fighter right now, is actually the one who said my coach Gray Maynard might be interested in competing. So that's how that line first opened up. So I called Gray. I talked to him a lot when I was a MMA reporter. So I had his number, funny enough, and he answered. So that was awesome. But thanks, Gray. But that was the first thing I asked him. I'm like, dude, technically, I see your Wikipedia says you're a blue belt, but let's be honest now. You want to compete at black belt, I assume. And he told that story about being in Brazil. I guess he was helping. If I ruin this, I'm very sorry, everybody. We'll have a podcast with Gray to tell the story officially. But he said he was down there helping, I think, Jose Aldo get ready for a fight, and was a white belt. Had to buy a gi, didn't even have a gi, so just went and got a gi, white belt, and was destroying everybody. And they're like, dude, we can't have a white belt in here just trashing everybody. We're going to just promote you to a blue belt so it looks a little more respectable. Yeah, that's what he told me.
Not too many humans got their blue belt that way. But yeah, that was that was kind of the story I got. And I was there right after he was there, so it was still circulating around,
the legend of Gray Maynard.
Yeah,
that's so cool. I mean, dude, you look at his MMA record, and a lot of people are going to see it happens to everybody who stays in the sport for a long time. The decline in MMA is so brutal. But if you go back and really look at his run when he was in his prime, dude, unbelievable career.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a pretty good relationship with Frankie, so I helped Frankie when he was in college wrestling, and
We're talking about Frankie Edgar.
Frankie Edgar like,
Went to
when he was-
Clarion, didn't he? Yeah.
Yeah, so I helped him wrestle like his last year or two, and helped him get ready for wrestling. I remember him talking to me about starting MMA, and I'm like, oh man, you'd be great, because he was tough. I mean, he was just a tough kid, and when he fought Gray, those were some of the most epic fights I've ever seen. I remember like losing my mind because I was a Frankie fan, obviously.
Yeah.
But Gray had him on the ropes.
Oh,
like,
dude.
I mean, most referees would have probably stopped it, honestly.
For sure.
In that, I mean, it was insane that they never did. But I mean, Gray was right there, UFC championship,
I know.
level fighter, and Gray has a reputation in the MMA, in the combat world, of being tough. So he beat some of the best. He beat Diaz. He beat Kenny Florian.
Yeah.
He's beaten a lot of tough dudes. So
Yeah, and if you look at it even more, he's only ever been submitted once, and that was by Nate Diaz on the show, The Ultimate Fighter. So
Guillotine.
it was during the show.
Yeah.
Yeah, guillotine. So everybody he fought and never been submitted. So just goes to show, like, dude, not a
he's
blue
tough.
belt.
Yeah,
Not a blue
he's
belt.
tough. That's
Yeah.
incredible. Yeah.
What, like, for you going into this, do you game plan for a grappling match the way a fighter would game plan for a fighter? Is it more of a flow, just kind of feel things out and let your instincts take over?
I mean, I know like his bread and butter is what my bread and butter is. So, I'm just gonna, just go test the waters. I have nothing to lose, and just go have fun. Just go push the pace and see what I'm made of. See if I still have it. So
That's awesome.
See, you most recently competed in a super fight in Cincinnati, right?
yeah.
So do you feel like going to, like, you said you get butterflies, you get nervous, the nerves. Do you feel like that'll be the same intensity being at home in front of the, friends and family, or will it be a different, like, will it be worse? Will it be easier?
For me, it's always different. It's weird. Like, it just depends. As long as my preparation's good, I'll be fine. But until you get in there, like I remember getting in the cage in Cincinnati at Limitless. Robbie Maloff runs a great show out there, and I remember like when I've never fought MMA. I've cornered hundreds of fights, and I know it's when you step in there and that cage locks behind you, it's like you ain't getting out until this is over. So it's kind of like a different type of feeling than walking on a IBJJF mat, you know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
So
The claustrophobia takes over. Like,
yeah, it's
there's
cool though. I
nowhere to
liked it.
go.
I
Yeah.
got like once the match started, I mean, I was great. I was like, this is awesome. So he's got a lot more experience in there than I do, but I think that little bit's gonna help me just kind of stay comfortable. And it's a big night for us, so my emotions, I'm gonna try to keep them in check. But I got Shane Valco and Ron Snee and Selena and all these guys, Jake and then Dempsey on top of it. So
Nuts.
Dempsey just qualified for the grappling world championship.
Yeah,
So
that's sick.
Saw that.
that was huge, and we're trying to make sure he gets ready for that. So
Yeah.
he's got a huge match with Brad. Brad's on a tear, but I think Dempsey's on a tear. So I think that's gonna be that's as high level as it gets to, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's another one, man. Like you said, when we look at this card, it's just banger after banger. And like just the level of that one, like you said, two guys who I feel like you just said, they're both on a tear. They're both kind of hitting their strides. Dempsey's very well oiled right now. Brad's really well oiled right now. It's not just like two names for the sake of being two names. It's two guys who are primed and ready to go. It's really exciting.
I think they're the two hottest grapplers on the East Coast. I mean, if you look at what they're doing, I mean, between the two of them, it's ridiculous. So, I think that match has the potential to be pretty crazy, especially in a cage.
Mm-hmm.
Is your guys is about 6 minutes? There?
Yeah, it's 6.
Yeah.
So they're in for 6. Dempsey and Schneider are 10, and PJ and Dante are 10 for anybody watching, but everybody else is 6. So that's fun, man. One thing I definitely wanted to pick your brain about is it's always interesting on the MMA cards. We kind of joke how often you're cornering guys, like how many guys you've cornered throughout your life. It's going to be cool to see you actually competing, but how are you going to manage that on fight night? Like, are you going to be so dialed into your match that you can't really help?
I mean, the most important thing is for me to get Justin Patton a win on Saturday.
Okay.
So,
All right.
my energy is going to be mainly, focused on that. But we have other coaches that are going to be there to help. You know, Matt Shaper is going to be there. Brian, Gina, all of our coaches will be there to, you know, pick up the slack for me. I've done this before. I've competed on Fight to Win many times with our with other, you know, with our competitors. It is tricky because what the problem with coaching is a lot of times is harder than competing because you emotionally get invested and you got to ride the emotions with what they do before the match, during the match, after the match. So if you get yourself kind of in trouble real easily, all it takes is 1 or 2 matches to really kind of like drain you. So
Right.
I'm going to do my best to kind of stay chill and let them guys do their jobs. I trust them. You know, they all are great coaches. And my main focus that weekend will be to get Justin a win on Saturday night, and you know, hopefully get to enjoy my match after my match is over. Enjoy Dempsey,
Yeah,
you know, and Brad going at it,
for sure. It's
and Dante and PJ.
Of course. It's super interesting. I heard Ethan Goss talking about it as well because he's fought with teammates on his card all the time. And Monte Barnes was just on the card. So he said the same thing. He's like, I tell them in advance, like, sorry, guys, I still love you, but I'm going to be a dick and I'm going to be away. I'm going to, like, on fight night, I'm not going to be there for you because if I'm competing, obviously. And that's I was wondering for you, like when Sneeze competing, for instance, are you going to be like, are you going to be able to not watch?
No, I gotta watch. I
Yeah.
gotta watch. It's just you know, I love those guys. They're like, you know, we're like family. So
Right.
anytime they get in there, it's hard not to watch. But yeah, I mean coaching is definitely different, but I'm at a different stage in my, I'm at a point now where I just really have a lot of gratitude, and, you know, I'm not really trying to, you know, go out there and show off anything, or, you know, it's not about that. I'm just out there to show our guys that, hey, I'm gonna do this with you. You know, I'm with you step by step. And if I'm gonna tell you you need to do it, then I'll do it right there with you. I guarantee that. So I just want them to understand that more than anything, that, you know, I'll get uncomfortable. I'll get in the deep end of the pool if we got to get in the deep end of the pool. But if we want to be the best in the world, we have to be able to do this consistently. So you know, that's pretty much the reason. You know, one of the reasons. Obviously, I love any kind of challenge. I've always been like that. And this is a big one. This is a big challenge.
Yeah.
And I'm looking forward to just seeing, you know, where we're at.
Well, you're definitely a lead by example guy. And I think not only competitively, man, one thing I wanted to for sure talk with you about is how you lead your fighters just as human beings. This is a huge thing that every Mat Factory competitor talks about, you and your mentorship and what you mean for them off the mats. Like, the balance has to be really delicate, I would assume, because you're not their parents and you don't want to step on what their parents are teaching them. But at the same time, you're clearly having a huge impact on these competitors' lives. So what is that like for you? Like, how do you balance that without overstepping or feeling like you're being their parent, but still have such a strong influence on all of them?
Well, honestly, it's just a testament to my coaches that I've had my life, from high school all the way up through college, and I'm just trying to like learn from what they've done, how they've handled things. But it is nice to have guys like Chris Dempsey in the room too. Like, one thing we don't like are just not good people. You know, if you're not a good person, then like probably not the place for you. So, you know, most of the thing that I think that we're more proud of, as coaches, is to see people that had struggles. And everyone's gonna have struggles and go through things and do, you know, not do not so great things in their life, but it's all about coming out the other side of it. So we see those young men and women like go through the struggle, and then see the fortitude they have coming out the other side of it, and see them striving to be a better person, help other people out. And jiu-jitsu is a great, you know, grappling is a great avenue for that, because it is an individual sport and it's like wrestling, but you got to help each other to get better and grow. And now we're on an adult level, not just high school and junior Olympic level. We're on an adult level where you see people willing to step up, help each other out. Hey, you need to ride somewhere, you need this, you know, and you know, everyone has, you know, blips in the radar, and it's not about that. It's about jumping right back on top of where, you know, where you were. So it's been a very important part of our coaching philosophy for sure. And, you know, to hear those guys explain it makes us proud. You know, but you know, I think that to be a good coach, if you're not doing that, if you're not like, you know, explaining, you know, the right and wrong and how to be a better man or woman, then you're missing out on the big picture.
Yeah. It's really rooted in faith with you guys too. We can see it all over social media, just of course talking with you guys and everything. Is that a conscious decision, or is that just a big part of who you are as a man and what you guys are as a team and what you represent? It just kind of gravitates that direction.
Yeah, we have great leaders. We have some amazing human beings that grace our presence every day. We got Dylan Weston, who leads our Bible study every Wednesday. Does an amazing job at that. We got guys like John Mulgrave, just a great human being that's been through a lot and came out the other side, and just such an inspiration being a 5-time world champion now, and at 64 years old. So you see people like that, and you got to make your circle tight, right? You want those type of people in your circle. So that's kind of what I've done in my life. I just want those type of people in my circle, and it's kind of how it's expressed itself maybe at the gym. But I want guys like Chris Dempsey in my foxhole. Above all, I take him over 100 people. So, and Matt Schaefer, same way. Those guys, and Gina, and it's the people that, really put into our gym, or just really put into being better people too. Like Ron Snee runs our kids program, and he's doing a great job of doing the same thing with the kids. So, and all the wrestling that goes on there as well. That's kind of how wrestling. I've never been around wrestling that didn't incorporate that. I'm sure you can attest to that, Ryan. Like, even at the youth levels, most of the coaches are still preaching that. Like, hey, you got to have faith, you got to have gratitude, you got to have this and that. You got to be a good kid. You got to thank your mom and dad for everything that you have, or you wouldn't be here, just for be here. So you see coaches do that in wrestling all the time. So maybe it's just kind of like the way that we're kind of brought up, but it's definitely powerful to see an adult go through that, that transition, and buy into it too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man, it's super, like I said, super apparent with all of your guys, just the way they carry themselves. We know if we book a Mat Factory matchup, they're going to be reliable, they're going to be dependable and do everything the right way. So obviously it's working. We don't need to shower Isaac Greeley with good things. I think we do that plenty for sure. But I do just want to say thanks, man, for what you're doing, not just for our promotion, but for the community of Pittsburgh. It's huge.
It's definitely not just me. So
yeah, exactly. See, he even had to deflect that.
Mm-hmm.
That's perfect, dude. I wanna lighten it back up for a second, because you were talking about having Chris Dempsey in your foxhole, which made me think.
Oh yeah,
which made me think
the same thing.
The grizzly bear. Have you seen
know.
these clips on Instagram or anything that everybody like Wilkins and Dempsey are huge about this?
What people getting attacked by grizzlies?
So
the wrestlers?
Yeah, well, we'll take it back a second. Wilkins is, I think, the initial question.
Oh, I heard his podcast.
Yeah, it was like, how many people would it take to kill an angry grizzly bear? Yeah, and then he
Dempsey.
started building a team.
Yeah.
How do you feel about? Because you're also an outdoorsman, so I'm sure you understand the power of a grizzly bear.
Yeah, I've been around lots of grizzly bears.
Yeah.
So
How many are you going to need, and who is your squad to take this thing down?
Well, that's tough. The first time I was in Alaska, we did a hike with my dad and a couple of my wrestling buddies, and we got through it, and we had grizzly bears all around us for a few days, and luckily nothing ever happened. But we got out the other side, and the game commission's like, "Did you guys have a gun? Did you have any?" We said we had spray, and they said, and the guy was like, "All right." He's like, I said, "What gun would we have had?" And he's like, "Well, the best gun for a grizzly bear is a 22."
What?
And I'm like, a 22? He's like, if you want to survive a grizzly bear attack, that 22 is your best chance.
What?
Yeah.
Why is that?
He said, all you have to do is shoot your buddy in the leg and you're going to survive. So I'd probably take Ron Snee for sure, because he's going to jump on that leg and just ride it. So I'll probably survive. So if I get Ronnie, he'd be number one.
Awesome. Isaac needs one guy. Okay. Dude,
He might not survive, but I'm going to get through it.
I fell right for that joke, dude. I was like, wait, really? A 20? I thought there was going to be some crazy.
I fell for it too.
I was like, what is it? Like the tiny round penetrates its skull better? Like, I don't know. I'm thinking that's awesome.
I had the same thoughts run through my head when I heard that. I'm like, oh man.
Oh, that's beautiful. My dad actually lived in Alaska for a while and loved it. Had a few experiences with grizzly bears as well. So he's always said like just how amazing they are. So that particular hypothetical for me is cool, because grizzly bears when I was growing up were like, just cool in the house. They're crazy beasts.
Wait, was that pre-Hunter?
It was,
So
yes.
you could have been Alaskan. That'd have been pretty wild.
Yeah, I mean, not to give away my parents' history too much, but apparently I was conceived in Canada whenever they were coming back from
Oh,
Alaska to PA. So I'm a little Canadian.
Sure. Probably get citizenship if you needed it. Citizenship.
That might hold up in
Yeah.
Canada for sure. It's like, I was conceived there. Good enough for me. Come on in. I was just at Niagara Falls too with my wife, and we were on the New York side. We don't have passports. So I heard the view was better on the Canada side though. So I should have tried that. Should
It's
have tried
awesome
to get over
there. I grew up going up there, so it is
Nice.
Yeah, for
Dude,
sure.
I'm like the least touristy guy ever. I think like all that stuff's lame to me. Like when I go places, I don't want to do the normal stuff, right? Like I want to do the local stuff that's hidden that nobody knows about. But Niagara Falls is now the exception.
Niagara
That
Falls
was
is-
so
yeah.
crazy. So crazy.
I'm planning it. I got to get up to Toronto to see Evan.
Mhm.
And Willow's up there right now. But I'll see them hopefully this week we have my wrestling camp this week. But you know, having Bobby and all the Vinny and all the Canadians. I mean, you gotta love Canadians.
Oh, they're the
They're
best.
amazing.
They really are the best
Yeah.
people. I'm glad you said Willow. She has like 30 fights now, man. What's
Yeah,
been going on? Yeah.
Willow's been on a tear. She finished a college wrestling season, graduated fighting. She's she's all about it. She'll be back down. She's coming to camp this week to train. So yeah, she's doing big things too.
Really cool. And shout out Bobby Murda as well. He has a big fight, I think 2 weeks after our event, something like that.
His is end of July.
Yeah. That's about right. It's a good matchup too. Jake Zach, who just competed
Yeah.
for us. I love that matchup. Actually, this will be a fun one for the podcast. We tried to make that happen as well, but Jake wasn't available on July 15th. Unfortunately.
No way.
I think
That was
That'd have been good.
yeah, Dan Severn, I think, is having a seminar at their gym or something. He had
okay.
there was something that his coach had to be there, so
Erie.
he couldn't corner him. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we looked funny enough, like we looked at Ferdoz versus Jake Zach too and
Yeah.
tried to make that happen, but didn't happen. But I'm glad it is happening because it's an awesome matchup.
I'm excited for Bobby. He's one of those ones that we talked about that are putting he sees the big picture, he's putting everything into it, works hard every day. He's a coach.
He's
He's a
marketable.
coach's dream.
He's a
Yeah.
character. He has
Yeah.
stories.
Oh, you should hear him in the gym with the kids. I mean, he freaks out those, high school kids. He's just
His
all over.
intensity
His
or what?
intensity. He's
Yeah.
like, you guys, did you pay for those shoes that you're wearing? I don't think so.
well, and he will not hesitate to set someone straight.
No,
either.
not at all. He's he's a character. We love. I mean, I just couldn't even imagine not having him in the gym. He went to Thailand for 3 months and it was like everyone's depressed. As soon as he comes back, everyone's perked back up and ready. Everyone's working like 30% harder. I'm like, what the Bobby Murder effect?
Dude, that's
My
so
favorite
awesome.
was Edwin. I don't remember what the situation was, but Edwin was talking or something, and he like held back from swearing, and I was like, when did that
Bobby
happen?
trains those. He had Edwin on like he's like teaching him.
I
very
know,
well. He's like,
and he's like, oh man, like Bobby, like he's been telling me, man, like you got people that look up to you. You can't be talking like that. And
Yeah,
pretty
he's
good
right.
Edwin impression, actually.
I
I'm
love
impressed.
Edwin. I love Edwin.
oh, Edwin's
The
he's
best.
awesome.
The
Yeah.
best, dude.
he's so
I talk to Edwin pretty regularly, like on the phone. So he's one of the guys that like
I mean, you gotta love Edwin.
Yeah,
he's
he's-
awesome. Those guys. I mean, there's so many characters. Like, there's just so many characters in the gym. That's another thing. You go every day is like going to a comedy club slash, gold
What's the
gym
dr-
slash. Like, you don't know. People. You're gonna laugh. You're gonna cry. You're gonna bleed a little bit. You're gonna sweat a lot.
I
It's just,
remember
like crazy.
the first time you and I sat down when I was exploring going into this, and I remember you saying to me, Ryan, this MMA game, I love it and I hate it. Like it's
Yeah.
just such a roller coaster. It drives
is.
me crazy sometimes. And now I know exactly
So to
what
flip
you're talking about.
flip the script a little bit, yeah, you and I met at Clark's Diner a few years ago now. But looking back on it, give me some insight on what did you see? You went through a lot. You guys went through. This is what I thought you'd have to go through. You'd have to go through craziness, and it's hard. I get it. I knew what you guys would face, and bringing Hunter on's been amazing. Look, did you know you'd be where you're at today at this point?
Oh, see, I mean, it's hard to say. Like I had big dreams from the beginning. So like part of the process was like I wrote up a business plan like before my wife let me spend a bunch of money and buy a cage and buy a trailer and do all that stuff. Like I had a full-fledged business plan and all those things. So a lot of the things that like if I pull that out, a lot of the things that like were longer term plans, some of them are coming to fruition, and some things are happening right now, which we'll talk about off the air. That we're not a part of it, that if it comes to fruition, it would be like mind blowing.
Roll with what's there.
So the biggest thing was when the first couple shows were like the most stressful year of my life. Like, and then COVID hit.
Yeah.
And it was like,
you had so many obstacles in the way, right? So,
and I remember talking to you at one point and saying, like, we got through COVID. Like,
what else is there?
Well, like, what can, like, we've gotten through the worst of it. Like, I'm not stopping now.
Yeah. Yeah. Where do you guys foresee the promotion in 2, 5 years, 10 years?
I think, yeah, from my perspective, I'll let Ryan answer too, obviously, but the biggest thing I've noticed, and this is particular on the last two events, so BitB 16 that just happened in April and this one coming up, the level of talent in Pittsburgh, and this was like the first time that Ryan and I ever talked, this is what we talked about, that we thought there was this untapped market in Pittsburgh of people who would fight and be interested in fighting that just weren't getting reached. And I've felt it growing along the way, but these last two are where I really noticed, like, we overbooked. BitB 16 had 16 fights. We had to ask Greg Serb, the commissioner, for that to be okay. It's not. Like 14 fights
and
is
it's
the limit.
not again.
Yeah, and it's not going to happen again because that was way too long of a show. But
and he said, like,
and also he said,
we're never having 16 more than
And then this card coming up in July is at 14 again, and we could have easily made 18.
Oh yeah,
like there are some of your guys that like I'm upset that they're not going to be fighting, but we actually ran out of space again.
Yeah.
So in terms of that talent pool, I'm really seeing it now. Like they're here. Like the influx that we thought was coming is absolutely here and growing every day. So for me, it's going to result in more competitive fights. You said it earlier, which I appreciate you saying it, so it didn't sound like promoter speak, but the level of these amateur fighters now is crazy. We're going to start seeing way more polished pros going in and hopefully send more guys to Bellator and the UFC and things like that.
I mean, we got it. I mean, you got Dalton Rasta out there right on the verge of a world championship. Cody Law fights tomorrow.
I know.
Tomorrow night. So tune into YouTube.
Yeah.
Bellator's YouTube channel.
Shout out Cody Law.
And we have Josh Frem in UFC. We have like the talent. Those are the OGs that have put the time in, but there's more that could come up through the pipeline. I see them,
Yeah. And
problem is those are special people. And one thing that all those guys have in common is they set huge goals and nothing got in their way.
That's it.
I mean, that's it.
We talk all the time about, I tell these guys, like, the longer I'm in this, the more you realize, like, there's a million guys that if they stuck through it could reach great levels.
Yeah.
Sticking through it, like,
the hard
most
part.
of them are not going to be able to.
It's very hard.
Life gets in the way. Like
My first advice always, when people come to me, is they ask me, I want to be a fighter. And I said, only be a fighter if you're 100% hearts into it and this is all you want to do. Because if you don't, it's going to eat you alive. It really will. So, that's the first advice any good coach is going to give an MMA person. Because you guys now know, you've been in it long enough that you know exactly how it goes. It's going to be nonstop. Crazy.
Yeah. It's really hard. Like,
it's hard.
To stick through it, you're going to go through insane moments of like, I don't want to do this anymore. It's going to happen.
Yeah.
And if you aren't strong enough and committed enough and like really dedicated enough, like those moments are when you turn away.
I mean, it weeds people out. There's 100 people that have the same talent to get to the highest levels. There's going to be 1 or 2 left.
Yep.
You got to be able to, you got to have a lot of mental fortitude to get to that 1 or 2%. So
my biggest thing is I try to tell the young guys, like, you don't realize that this is some of the funnest you're ever going to have in your life.
Oh man.
Like, appreciate what it is now. Like keep working hard towards what you're going through.
Yep.
Mhm.
And like the same thing with Josh Fremd. Like when he got his first UFC win, I was texting him like,
Yeah.
bro, like don't just like you get one first UFC win. Like enjoy
He'll
it.
work.
Like,
Yeah, he's done it right. I mean, we've watched Josh progress since his first amateur fight.
yeah.
And I got to spend a lot of time with Josh, you know, coaching him and cornering him, and you know, he had it the whole time.
Oh,
He was
yeah.
willing to sell everything he had to go get it. So
Well, and it, like the first show I ever promoted was with Pinnacle, and he was on that card, and he suffered a
loss. Yeah.
weird loss, like
Yeah.
a loss that was like way unexpected. And like even before that fight, I was like, I told him like when
Yeah.
we were meeting, I was like, I think you're like the next guy from Pittsburgh, like.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And he weathered the storm well, you know,
Yeah.
and he got through that. And you knew as soon as you saw his reaction the next month, you knew he's going to be fine. So
He-
that's the kind of stuff I was talking about. Like guys like go through
Yep.
that. So I mean, it's going to happen in MMA. I mean, it's inevitable. You don't want it to ever happen, obviously, but it's the most important thing is when it does, you got to like be aggressive and, you know, use it as a vehicle.
My
Get you.
my thing is like the kids in, especially like wrestlers, like a lot of wrestlers grew up like their parents had money or something, and that's like if you're a wrestler and like your parents own a business or something, that's the hard people is like when the first time you get knocked out or something, that's when you're really gonna be like, do I really want to do this?
Yep. I mean, you're
Like,
going
I
to
could
question everything. For
Live
sure.
a nice
Yeah.
life and like I have
Yeah.
a job sitting there for
Yeah.
making good money. Like,
Yeah.
what am I doing here?
Yep. I mean, it's a crazy sport. And being a promoter, you really get the intimate look into it, like that most people won't either, you know. But being a coach too, I mean, the day-to-day stuff, the little problems that happen, and you know, you feel for these kids and you know, guys and girls, what they have to go through. It's hard. It's a hard thing to do.
And see, that's what I've over time I've learned I have to separate myself from the emotional side of
Good. Yeah.
like, and that's where like you're on the other end, like you're in that
You
where
get stuck in it. It's tough. And you know, they're crying, you're crying,
Yeah.
you know.
yeah.
So
And so like I'm good friends with Ethan Goss, right?
he's the greatest, by the way.
When he's
He's one of my favorients too.
he is
Absolutely.
He's
when-
such a unique
he's
dude.
an idiot. Well, no, we're constantly bashing, but when he's in the cage,
He
like
flips it.
I
man.
don't know. It's a different, like that's not my friend Ethan. That's like fighter Ethan.
Yeah,
and like
yeah,
I
for sure.
separate that because I have to.
Yeah, for sure.
But like, yeah, I've over time, like at the beginning, I would like be friends with
Yeah.
guys, and I have no, like I can't.
It's tough. I mean, especially if you want to make it into as big as you guys really envision it to be, you're gonna go through so many relationships and just have to, you know, you're gonna have to separate it at some
Yep,
point.
and
But,
that's where, yeah. But you were asking about like what does
Yeah.
this look like in 10 years? Multiple cities.
nice. I like that.
We're looking at stuff now.
Yeah.
And then, but more importantly, like he'll be the first to tell you, like there's like 247, there's never contentment. Like it's always like we have
Gotta have that. You
after
gotta have
every
that.
show we meet, and like there's no patting yourselves on the back. Like we get that feeling for a day or two, and then it's let's have our meeting and let's focus on like what needs improvement, what do we do good,
Nice.
what do we do bad,
Yeah.
like and so we're always looking to improve, and we're the goals are big. Like
Good.
there's some big goals we're
I
chasing.
mean, that's the key to have set them. Why not? We only
Mhm.
live one life, you know. That's what I tell our guys all the time. Like, why set your goals low? And if you don't hit those huge goals, if you fall a little short, then it's a little easier to, still gonna hit it big.
yeah.
So, I'm excited about that, obviously, and I'm very excited about the grappling. You know, hopefully this thing goes off great. I think it will. I think. I mean, you're gonna want. The one thing is, there's thousands of grapplers in Pittsburgh now.
It's
and
Crazy.
Yeah, thousands.
Well, hope the ones that aren't grappling, they all attend. That's my biggest
Yeah,
thing. Is
I think they will.
are
I
people
would.
coming. Like that's what
I would
don't
if
know.
I was just a random fan and I was 2 hours away from a Dante Leon, PJ Barch, Chris Dempsey, Brad Schneider match. I would be like, "Oh, I'm getting in the car tonight."
Yeah.
You know, I bring my wife
Yeah.
and kid. We're gonna go to a grappling match. So, I think you'll get it. I think it's gonna do really, really well. I think it's gonna be beyond your expectations. And
be
hopefully
awesome.
we get to do it again. You know, I think it's smart. I think it's smart too because you lead right in to the MMA the next day,
Yeah.
which is huge too.
And we get like we're kind of polling people and seeing what coaches think. And there's coaches that are like, you got to have them on Saturday night going forward. Like, and then there's coaches that say this is perfect, so we're gonna weigh all this.
I think Friday night's good. I mean, you know, Fight to Win came in last time. They told us on a Tuesday and they had a match on a Friday. And I was like, rifling.
How does that make sense for them? How do they?
I mean, Seth has a system in place that he can just go into a city, and he was in
But
Cleveland.
as far as like, are they not depending?
They
on,
realize how easy it is to match grappling too.
but they don't
Because
depend on the gate.
they still filled it up.
Really?
You know?
That's sweet.
Yeah. Yeah. They
So
still do.
what's filled like?
I mean,
what do you think the attendance was there? Like, are you
hard to
talking like
tell. I mean,
hundreds?
I would say high hundreds.
Yeah.
I had to guess. Between 500 to 700, 800 people.
Nice.
Hard
good
to,
number.
It's hard to tell in a place that it was at last time, but
Mhm.
I know that in ones in past, like they've had them at the Pisa, and it's been crazy. I remember I remember walking out and there's just like kids on a whole mat all the way
What's
around.
the Pisa?
Right down here in Harmerville, or I guess up there for you guys. It's a Pittsburgh indoor sports.
Oh
arena.
Yeah.
Okay,
They have a lot of
so,
they have a lot of jiu-jitsu tournaments there.
so it's pronounced Pisa.
Pisa.
Okay, I always think PISA. Like,
Yeah. Pisa.
I don't know.
That's what we call it. So,
Okay.
yeah, they've had some packed events. And it's hard to tell though because they're at tables, you know.
Mhm.
So it's not like they're just seated. They usually have them at tables. People are sitting at tables. So it's kind of hard to tell, but those
Yeah.
have been great. And grappling in general as a whole has been growing and growing and growing. Like 10th Planet Bethlehem has tournaments every month. Like they have different stuff every month. They have finisher series tournaments every month that Renee and Zach run. And they grow and they have flow. They have a flow deal, so they're all on flow.
That's
You get to
awesome.
Watch them. So our guys go out all the time and compete out there, which is great for us too because they can be on a high level, get exposure. See where we're at, bring it back to the lab. So it's nice to have that all the time too. So
That's
we're
super cool.
always looking to send like our competitors locally, but it's nice to send them out there to test the waters, you know, with the other big dogs and bring
Yeah.
them back and see where we're at.
We'll bring the big dogs here.
Bring them here. Yeah.
Bring 'em
I-
to her.
Yeah, you
makes a
didn't
lot
even
of
think
sense,
about
man.
going out of market. I mean, Pittsburgh itself is huge, but you got, you know, obviously Cleveland, Erie, State College now.
Mhm.
Central PA is getting bigger and bigger. So, I mean, I don't think it's going to be, you know, hard to match grappling matches.
It's been crazy. I mean, we talk about fantasy matchmaking all the
Yeah.
time, and you can kind of do it in grappling.
Yeah, that's the difference.
Yeah. Grappling is kind of like we talked about. You have to like match people correctly, which you guys have done a dang good job for your first time, honestly. It's pretty easy to be like that guy's way outmatched in that area. But pretty much, like I think you guys have done a real good job, real competitive matches. Some of those matches are going to be crazy. I want to see like Shane Valco go against one of, you know, Sean's best guys.
Yeah.
That's going to be crazy. Like,
Yeah,
what
dude.
is that? Like, that's some match that people don't even know about, right?
Dude, there's so many that I just look at and I'm like, come
And
on, man.
and
Come on.
Ronnie's got a guy from India. I don't even know him. I just met him at a tournament. He's like, I'm going against Ronnie. I'm like,
So
That's his boy.
he's like Danny Palm's best friend. This
yeah,
guy.
he's
They
cool.
grew
He's
up-
cool dude.
Yeah.
He came up to me. He's like, hey man, nice to meet you. I was like, I'm competing against your boy Ron Snee, and I'm like, wow, that's sick. So
That's
you know,
awesome, dude. Travis goes back. I didn't know Travis well either until he started coming around and at the shows and everything, talking to him through Danny Palm. But Travis goes back. Like I think he used to train with Cherico, right, and everything back in the
Oh,
day,
sick.
Fight Club
Yeah.
Pittsburgh day.
He's a legend,
Oh, dude, Cherico's the best. He's one of the funniest guys ever.
dude, he's so
And now he's 250 pounds of just.
I know. I keep
pure
trying.
ball
I
jacked.
try to get him back in the gym all the time. Just come, just coach and come, just do some rolling. Get your black belt. I mean, he's right on the verge of a black belt. He just needs to do it.
Should we tell the people that we almost had
Yeah.
Yeah, he
Jericho?
told me.
Okay, you
He
knew
told
that? Nice.
Yeah, I called him. I'm like, are we
Well,
doing this
that
or
was
not?
signed, wasn't it?
It was signed on the other side. Jericho
Okay.
never signed.
Gotcha.
His neck. I mean, and respect.
Yeah,
Your
he
neck
does-
matters.
He does have
Yeah.
some health issues, but he's an animal. He's a beast. He could have done it. without
How do you think he would have done? Because you know Humbertson really well, don't you?
I do. Zach
Yeah.
trains with us.
How would that match have been?
It's been great, and Zach is like one of those guys that like you got to kill him. Like he's like I've seen that dude. Like we had a tournament not too long ago in Charleston, West Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
He grappled every single one of our guys except for me. He grappled Dempsey, Matt Schaefer, Trent Zadarko.
Oh my God.
Yeah, Zach Lacrone. Like he went like match
Wow.
after match, and they were all like it was all like the rule set was horrible. It's
Tre-
like
it-
so.
Is Trent on?
No, Trent's not on.
Not
Trent's
yet.
Not on. No.
Okay.
It's not over yet. I don't think though.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe.
But yeah, those
Sorry,
guys. I mean, he's out there like he's just dying. And he's like, I ran a marathon this morning before I came here, and I'm like,
my
Zach,
God.
you ran a what? This guy shouldn't have done that. And I'm like, that's insane.
Wow.
Yeah, I gave him a year membership to our gym or
Dude,
lifetime.
that's-
I think I can't remember.
Lifetime, it doesn't
I'm like,
matter,
dude,
yeah.
whatever you just went through today, you just come up anytime you want.
That's
you can
so
train
cool.
with us anytime. So he comes up, once a month or so. But Mark Cherico's Mark Cherico's not only a showman,
Yes.
he's a Conor McGregor before Conor McGregor.
Oh yeah.
He would show it and then do it. Because you're like, there's no way this guy's going to back this up. The first time I saw him, he was in Ohio, and he comes out with like a ripped up shirt on with his green glasses, flipping them.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what in the hell?
Who
And like,
is
this
this guy?
guy's going to get killed. And he's got this animal across him, like flexing on him. And he
Yes.
just goes out there and like double legs him, takes him down, rear naked chokes him, gets up, like licking blood off his hands. I'm like, whoa.
Dude,
That
he's
dude's crazy.
He's one of the best for sure. Pittsburgh, like you said,
If
Pittsburgh
he
legend.
was healthy,
Yeah.
he'd have been.
I totally
I mean,
agree.
he fought. No one knows. Probably not many people know this. He had a herniated disc in his neck, and our goal at that point was let's spend 6 months and get healthy, and then as soon as we said that, 2 weeks
UFC
later
calls.
they call, and it's
Yep.
like no, like right
Can't turn
now.
it down. Yeah.
Can't turn it down. He went into that fight like really dinged up, and him. He's like, I'll be fine. I'll
Yep.
be fine. I'll be fine. If a healthy Mark Jericho walks through that dude, and God knows the rest of could have
Absolutely.
But he's in a great place. He's got a great job, a beautiful family. His wife's amazing.
Yep.
Can't complain.
He's-
right.
You've seen so much, like talking about Mark's, like, the glasses and the craziness. What stands out to you from like local MMA? Like, what events were you like, this is really cool? Or like,
I
know
mean, the
this-
craziest event ever that I've ever seen was Dom versus Cody.
Yeah.
That was insane.
Yeah,
for Pittsburgh.
I wish I would.
I don't think that
then.
regionally could have competed. I think it would have been. It's got to be up there with the greatest of all time. I
Mhm.
don't for a regional fight. Like I
Yeah.
don't
Yes.
know because it wasn't like it was Cleveland versus Pittsburgh. It wasn't even about anything else.
And it was like gym beef too at the time, was
gym
it?
beef and drama.
But that was at a time
if you
where-
had a video camera for that fight, that fight camp, they rolled in. Cody rode in with like, biker gang at weigh-ins, and
And
it
what-
was insane.
Wasn't it like
That's so sick.
promotion versus promotion kind of too? Because like one was Pinnacle and one was Gladiators.
Yeah, Gladiators and Pinnacle. We're going through their little thing, and
That's another thing.
Matt let Cody
Yeah.
fight.
Mhm.
For because Matt was like all about the MMA. He wanted to do it for the MMA aspects as a fan. So
Yeah.
it was nuts.
Yeah.
And that fight could have went either way either. So
Oh
that
my
was
God.
crazy.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I mean, just looking at the level those guys went on to achieve, each of them, it's ridiculous.
So sick.
Yeah, it was crazy. And that the place afterwards was. I mean, I was trying. I remember getting out of there because there was big fights breaking out, and
Yeah.
chairs flipped over and tables. It was nuts. And I got out of there. I'm like, I made it. I come out. There's 3 girls from Cleveland out there. Like, you from Pittsburgh? And I'm like, I'm from Cleveland. I'm from Cleveland. They're like, you're lucky. You're lucky. And I'm like, holy
Oh
cow.
my God, you're gonna get
Yeah.
jumped
I
by
almost
3
got
women.
jumped by 3 girls. I was like,
That's
I'm getting
awesome.
to my car. I'm all by myself. I'm like,
That is awesome.
They saw your
I'm like,
Pennsylvania
Northside.
plates and started chasing you.
Yeah,
He's a
I was like-
liar.
I was like, that was intense. That one, I mean, there's been so many. It's been crazy. When you and I met, just I remember having those conversations with Rich Miller and Robert Joseph. Hey, because they used to come to Ohio and like, hey, we really want to start an MMA promotion. I'm like, I don't know anything about it, but I'll get some fighters. There was hardly anyone. You know, Mick had his thing out at Fight Club, and you know, we had a couple. We had Dempsey and Dom, and that was it. And then obviously Fatty came rolling in, and then soon enough we had Francis Healy, and then we had a little crew of our own. But just to see the progression of it, oh my, it's so fast. Literally a decade goes from barely anything all the way through, had its height, and we had a pretty good thing, and then it kind of like died down again. Now it's right back to where it was, even farther, even more so. The last fight was insane, packed. I mean, I brought a couple of my friends down. I'm like, you guys got to come check this out. And they were like, well, that was insane. I mean, it's so rowdy in there too, because it's
that environment there.
That was rowdy. It's
nuts,
so loud. Dude. Like, it's just crazy. Like, your adrenaline is just pumping the whole time. And I'm in the back trying to get, I don't know what's going on. It's so loud. It like you're just like turning around. You just like, sounds like the Steelers just won a Super Bowl.
Yeah, I
does.
really love. I mean, I love that venue. It just the feeling in there is pretty awesome.
I like it a lot. I like it a lot.
What was the environment like at Stage AE? Like, just I mean, other than the Dom fight, like
I thought it was super cool because they had like the upstairs rooms to get ready. It was very professional, I would say. Probably very expensive. I remember like some of the issues they were dealing with, like getting bleachers in there was like crazy. But it was very nice. I thought it was pretty cool venue to have.
We may or may have not like just went there the other day.
I mean, if you ever been in a fight there? You've been there.
I've never been there for a card somehow. Yeah.
Wow, I thought they were pretty epic.
Yeah.
You know, they were hit or miss.
There's challenges there.
Yeah.
Mainly
that's the financial issues were the main thing.
Insane.
Yeah, I thought it was really cool. I thought the place in Cheswick was great too. The Syrian Mosque was pretty different. I've been in fights everywhere.
We went there for a boxing match, right?
You went.
Was that you?
Yeah, you went without. Yeah. Was that Derek Giantas?
Who was I with?
I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Derek, Derek's awesome dude too.
Yeah,
he's awesome.
Yeah.
Dude, the community to that point, we're very blessed to have so many people on that level, coaches, promoters, managers. It's just like you were saying about the Mat Factory, a lot of good people. And I know this game gets a really bad rap for snaky people, for just unethical people, for just terrible people.
Yeah.
And Pittsburgh is, I mean, in my experience, it's great, man.
I mean, the good thing is I've been out a lot of places and I've had friends from a lot of places. They can't believe we can do what we can do here. It's because we've really, worked on our relationships with a lot of, like, Warren Stout, him and I are very close. Mike Wilkins, obviously, one of my A1s, Tommy Costa, Lou, all these people in the community, we compete, our guys compete against each other, we cross train. But when it all, we'd all, at the end of the night, we'd all go to a dinner table, sit down and, hang out and BS. And that's really what it's all about. So nothing makes me happier to see this, believe me, because I always had that as my vision, and I had obstacles along the way with different, issues. I hope it always stays like this. It's very special. I think that's how we've rose so fast, honestly, and how everyone's gotten really as good as they have because we have this environment. But just to, have the sense of pride that Pittsburgh, too, of all places, Pittsburgh's like the best city, right? We're the toughest city. We have the best sports. We have a lot of pride. The people are awesome. And the people in Pittsburgh are just honest, hardworking, tough people that don't get the credit they deserve. They don't. You know what I mean? Bottom line, I feel like that's where we're at. Now we're trying to prove that we do deserve it, and we're ready to go. That's why, like, every practice we have, we train like we're trying to be the best in the world. And we have other people come into our gym like Zach Humbertson or, Stout guys or Blues guys or Tommy, whoever comes into our gym, Ethan, whoever comes into our gym, we're going to pour everything we can into them to make them better too. Cause we know we're all sharpening the same sword. So when it's time, like we see Josh Frem go out there and get that first UFC win. We see Cody Law get this rear naked choke tomorrow he's going to get. See Dalton Ross to win a world championship. And we got a whole other army coming up through. Stout has their army. We have our army. Pittsburgh in general has a whole army of fighters. High Ground has their guys. Nick Brown, not even talking about him. He's got his own.
Unbelievable, yeah.
Yeah, we got him and what he's doing and all these other great gyms and leaders. It's super special. We should cherish it. And having what you guys do gets speed it up and showcase it. And we are me personally, when I say we, the Matt Factory, we're blessed to have you guys doing what you're doing, even especially with the grappling thing now too.
Thanks, man. That means a ton.
It's really our honor. I mean, working with you guys is such a blessing for us, and seeing what you do and what you do for so many people is like, it's just awesome. It's inspiring. You inspire me a lot. Like, I always tell him, like, I wish I could be more like my flaws. Like,
I have my flaws. Trust me. That's my wife.
I know you do, but you also have a lot of character and characteristics that like a man should want to aspire to have. And so, it's just awesome. There's a reason why.
That's not on me. That's my parents. That's my coaches. But
we should call Isaac the Deflector Greeley.
Yeah, that's actually not a bad Dr. Deflector. No, we were talking. This is kind of funny, actually. We were talking to 22 The Point. Was that today?
Yeah, that was
dude. These days are so crazy lately. I don't remember what day it is, but yeah, talking to them this morning, and their guy Al was asking. He's like, "Is Dr. Isaac going to be competing?" And Ryan was like, "Well, you got to tune in at 8:15 tonight to find out." But he was like, "The only thing I ask is that you announce him as Dr. Isaac, just Dr. Isaac." How do you feel about that? Are we going with Dr. Isaac, or do you want Isaac Greeley?
Do you want Dr. Deflector?
Dr. Isaac, Dr. Deflector.
I'm down for whatever you guys do. I trust you. That's your department, not mine.
All right,
we're in trouble.
Dr. Deflector, it is.
Remember when Isaac used to like us?
That could be bad.
Yeah. But yeah, man, we've said it multiple times, but it's an honor to have you in the community, in our podcast studio too, man. It's cool. You've been on the podcast, but it was in the Zoom days. So it's way cooler to have you in here.
This
in the
place
studio.
is great, by the way. You guys stepped it up. This is crazy.
Thanks, man. That's what we're trying to do. And that's, like you said, the 5-10 year vision. I think we'll see more steps up and more dramatic steps up along the way. That's
it's been fun to watch. I'm excited. I'm excited that you guys have big goals, because that makes me excited, and I have a lot. We have a lot of hungry lions that want to showcase their skills. So I think it's going to be great. I think it's going to be keep doing what you're doing, and having these podcasts are awesome. I love watching our guys on, like, when they're on here. Even the guys I don't even know, or I know, but I watch them and I enjoy them.
That's because this guy he's so good at, like,
he's good. I mean, I've known Hunter for a long time.
It's true.
Back in his flow days. Yeah. And Bleacher Report days. So it's I remember like messaging you years ago about stuff. And when Hunter was in Pittsburgh, like just floating around, and then like when you snatched him up, I'm like, that is the pickup right there. That's the A team right there. So having Hunter on your staff has been awesome, because we communicate so well and have for years. So having Jim there too has been great. So
Jim's full time now. Jim.
Oh yeah. He came in professional this week. Like, I was like,
there we go.
You okay, buddy? Got his like little pack with him. He got his,
You okay?
Nice.
So out of character for Jim to be professional.
he was, whoa. I know. It's like, geez.
Professional Jim.
Yeah. He was all about it. He's all business.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, dude, it's really cool for me. On a slightly different level. I wasn't with 247 at the beginning. I came in at like right before BitB 8, and that was in a different role as well at the time for the first two events, and then kind of took a bigger role.
Was that Johnstown?
It was Jake's fight with Marco Hutch and Monroeville. Yeah,
that was a
insane fight. And then Johnstown was right after it, later that month.
Yep.
So that was when I came into the fold, and then took a bigger role, BitB 9 moving forward, and just seeing the growth since then has been nuts. So for me personally, like you said, I've been a huge fan of Pittsburgh MMA and all the Pittsburgh gyms and fighters.
Yeah.
So to be a part of it, man, it's freaking sweet.
Yeah. Well, thanks for what you do for all our guys. I mean, and girls. I mean, it's been nice just to be able to stay home. That's makes my life a lot easier. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You gotta travel. Sure. You gotta travel and get out there, but it's nice to stay home.
That's our goal. Like one of our goals is to have an atmosphere of MMA here, where is to grow the Pittsburgh MMA scene to the point where
for sure
you don't have to go to other places, because you can get everything here until you're ready to go to the big.
That's it. You can develop.
So like
your
CFFCs,
I mean, that's what
your
CFFC does in
LFAs,
Philly.
like,
Like
those guys. We think there's things.
CES in Boston. I mean, we have that.
Yep.
You get the fighters. We're getting them. They're building. I go to Stout on Saturday to watch sparring. It's fun.
It's high level now.
It's
yeah,
good.
dude.
It's good. You see you can get any time you can see, like, look in a corner and be like, ooh, what's that going on over there? That's crazy.
Yeah.
You know, and you look over here and you're like, oh, those guys are sparring. That's crazy. So
Stout, their gym in their main gym, I'm
Strip?
sure
Strip.
the strip. Yeah, I couldn't think.
yeah.
It's like the opposite of the Mat Factory.
Oh yeah, big.
It's like
It's nice.
You can breathe when you're
You can
there.
breathe. Yeah.
It's like when you go to the Mat Factory.
I know.
If you've never been there,
Yeah, it's not.
It's like the most.
I love-
and it's
yeah.
a constant like. Okay, the new class comes in, like they shift together. and
Yeah,
they're-
our mats, we just got them. They're already getting chewed up because
Yeah.
it's like there's no amount of traffic. You can't prepare themselves for that.
Yeah.
But my coach said it best. I wrestled in a small UPJ when we only had one wrestling mat. They now have since put a huge wrestling room in. It's awesome. But we used to always complain because there'd be 30 of us in this little room getting falling on each other, and he'd be like, "It's not. Are you big enough for the room? Or it's not. Is the room big enough for you? Are you big enough for this room?" To ask
Nice.
yourself that. So I always tell our guys that now. As soon as I hear them complain, I'm like, "You can get good in a 6-foot circle. Trust me."
That's
So,
awesome.
Sundays get crazy because we have all those people come in. Our classes are usually packed on the weeks too. But
Well, it's funny how like
Mhm.
everyone's like, there's 3 layers.
yeah,
of
Dempsey,
people
Matt, and I
grappling
talk
on each
about
other.
this all the time. Maybe we should just lease another space and put a big mat in there. And I'm like, it wouldn't have the same feel.
Well,
know?
I've told him. I said I want to grow the MMA scene here so big to the point where Isaac has to buy it.
he really has said that a
Yeah.
lot. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, geez, I mean, if I have to, I have to. Not that I want to, but I love the Mat Factory.
Yeah.
I'll never, that was the best decision I ever made.
There's
Yeah,
no
well,
smell
besides
quite
getting-
like the Mad Factory.
I mean, yeah.
It is-
I mean,
It's not a. It's like people
It's hard
working
work.
really hard.
Yeah, truly.
That-
and
the smell.
I will say is we are cleaners. Like we are like cleaners.
Yeah.
Like we clean
Gotta
our
be.
mats like every practice. We disinfect the walls every day. We clean the bathrooms. We have cleaners that come in. I'm like, I don't know what else we could possibly do.
So okay, if you were to wring out all the sweat from one of the, like
Oh.
how much would that like? I
It's
just
bad.
think everyone's soaking. Like there's 40 people in a
Yeah.
room that fits 38,
Yeah, yeah.
and,
True.
and they're all soaking wet, soaked, and
There's
a lot of sweat
you got to
happening
be used to that environment, but once you get you almost crave it. You're like, you want that. It's weird, but you're like, I want to like get that deep hard sweat in and not stop until I can't get up anymore. We have people that come in, like one guy, Khalid, owns Cafe on Fifth. One of our longtime grapplers, purple belt, awesome competitor. He'd been great. But he comes in and you can tell like he just wants to get the work in. He's there at 10. It's 10 p.m. He's still working out. There's no one left. Everyone's leaving. He's still out there. He's like, "You want to roll?" I always mess with him. Like, "You want to roll?" He's like, yeah, let's go. I'm like, "He's joking, bro."
I don't. Yeah.
Yeah. So we got people like that are like they come in and then you see them do it. You're like, "All right, I'll stick around. He's gonna be here for an hour. I'll do another 15 minutes."
Well, you also have the best 1-2 punch of businesses ever with the rehab center being
Yeah,
attached.
I
Like
know,
that. How
I
perfect
know.
is that?
That's a pretty successful Ponzi scheme. I think.
Genius.
Yeah.
Genius.
Yeah,
That is
people
genius.
get hurt a lot, but no, it's nice. It is actually. I mean, the biggest thing is I think, and Bobby, told me this the other day. He's like, "Man, we're so lucky because we have constant recovery all the time. Like, take advantage of it. And the guys that do and the girls that do, I mean, it's right there. So
Yeah.
we're proud to think that we do a really good job of what we do on that side of things in the chiropractic and physical medicine in. So we have all the stuff there, and we have a recovery lounge in the back. So we have we have a sauna. We're real big about saunas and cold tubs and compressions and brain float waves and stuff like that for mental training too. So we take a big understanding and trying to get better at all that stuff too.
Yeah. I got a little taste of that myself when I was up there at the time. The cupping. Dude,
Yeah,
the
did some cupping.
compression felt so good.
Compression.
I want
we threw
that at
you in
my
there.
house.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, I think recovery is just as important. At 47, I have to think recovery because I'm trying to keep up with these young guys all the time. So I have to, I get adjusted multiple times a week, get massages. I'm bad at, doing that every week, and then on top of all that other like cold baths, and I'm a big believer in saunas and all that stuff too. So it's great because I go in there, I know the guys that are in there, they're there taking care of themselves, and it cuts the injuries down. So
Mhm.
and it helps them, their
What
training.
do you have a place for for like ice baths or anything?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
like
we have one.
like I don't that I
It's
my
dangerous.
pool
it's
pool's a
addictive.
little bit like my
Yeah.
pool's like 80 and I'm like it's too cold.
Yeah, it's funny to see people that get in the first time. I have a video archive that I have of people that I know are gonna be good, so I'll be like, all right, get in there, and like, I just want to give them a choice, like, get in, get your head under, and I shove them under, and it's always like that.
Yeah.
And I'm
Panic.
like,
Yeah,
saving
yeah.
them. I'm like, I'm saving that one.
Putting that one in the favorites
Yeah.
folder right now.
Yep.
That's awesome. But yeah, man, it's what you guys got going on obviously is working. We're excited for the next steps for sure. First step on that journey, July 14th, man. This is going to be a big event, not just for you being involved in a huge matchup against Gray Manor, but like we said, I think there are like 8 Mat Factory guys on that card,
A lot
including
of,
Dempsey.
and a ton of our friends, that's
Yes.
the other thing. So it's
Yeah,
gonna be
everybody
fun.
knows everybody. Like we were talking
Yeah,
about the cross
yeah.
training. It was actually funny. Maya Yankelo's on the card, and I thought she was a Mat Factory. She's like, I've
True
seen her in
believer,
so many
yeah.
pictures of training at the Mat Factory. I'm
she
like, I
trains-
just thought she was.
Yeah, she trains a couple days a week usually.
Yeah, that's killer,
She's
man.
a beast too.
Yeah, the environment you guys have created there.
Yeah.
Nuts.
Liam Jones, another one.
Yeah,
I
thought Liam
true
was a
believer.
Mat Factory guy
He
too.
trains with us a lot, but yeah, he's a true believer guy. That kid's a freak.
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
so good.
We're so stoked. Did I text you to ask if Liam and Lucas Jones were brothers? Because I totally thought they were
I
for the
mean,
longest time.
If you saw them train, you would think that they
Yeah.
are, but no, I don't think they're related.
I just assume like
Yeah.
same last name, L first
We
name.
should put them together for a tag team though. For
That's
like
a good tag team.
Yeah.
for the
I
Cassidy.
mean, we talked about the Cassidy the
Yeah.
Cassidy
those two
family
would
tag
wreck some
team.
people.
I'm talking about the whole
Yeah.
family, dad too, Darren.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
that would be-
Darren,
That would have been sick.
yeah, Darren
Darren
K.
is
Cross.
like low key. Like if you don't know, like
yeah,
that
you would
dude-
think he would.
Yeah,
he
I
was
love
just
Darren.
like,
Darren's always like so nice too. He's just like, hey Isaac, how are you doing? What's good? Catching up. And I'm
He's-
like, Darren, don't kick me. That's all I'm thinking. I'm like, I'm staying out of range because I don't want any kind of like fast twitch coming at me. 'Cause I've seen Darren in action, like training and coaching.
And
pretty
road
awesome.
raging. I mean,
And his kids,
coaching.
his boys are just
yeah,
freaks.
yeah.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
truly are.
Yeah, they're
That's
awesome.
it's just interesting how like I don't know how like those two kids can be so high. Like usually it's like one in a family and then the other one's like they're like
Yeah.
they're
I mean,
phenomenal.
I think the good thing about Darren is he knew not to press cross when he was younger because he saw Caden doing well and he just figured like, hey, he'll figure it out. And then he didn't really push that I saw didn't really push him too hard. And then this year, I saw Matt a huge improvement in his development.
yeah.
because he wanted it himself. And then when Cross, decided like, hey, it's my turn now. You could tell like, okay, the switch just got flipped and it's gonna be a fun ride to watch. So.
As long as I yearly see the the Cross's birthday video,
Yeah,
or Christmas video rather.
yeah.
As long as I see that,
You're all good.
It's
funny.
the year can end and I can go to the next
Yeah.
year.
That's a great family.
Yeah, they're awesome.
Yeah, they're the best, man. Well, we could talk about Pittsburgh combat sports families for a very long time, and that's the beauty of Pittsburgh and what you're a huge part of, what we're helping build up, man. It's awesome. Couldn't be more excited for these next couple steps.
I love the fact that people are starting to ask about it.
Mhm.
Hey, what's up with Pittsburgh? When we go places, like, hey, I heard you guys are starting to pop up on the map. Like people are, fighters or grapplers or just, got guys like Dempsey and other guys in the grappling realm doing great things, and then all the MMA guys that are starting to come out, and then we're building and starting to push these guys in there. So, I mean, I think it's just we just got to put our time in, and like you said, 5 years. Think about that. 5 years could be like a mecca.
Longer than we've
have
been
what we
around.
need
Yeah,
now.
longer than we've been
Yeah, we
putting on
have
fights.
what we need. I really feel like that. We have everything we need to really build championship caliber
Like the only
fighters.
when
Yeah.
I look at like when people say like, oh, like what's why aren't you guys on Fight Pass? And I'm like, well, there's like not a lot of pros here, and like Fight Pass doesn't put pro fights on. Like, plus that's not like really a goal of ours. I think Fight Pass is more like it, like fighter. That's more for the fighters. They think that's like really awesome to be on it, and it is. It's great, but like for us right now, that's not like a part of our goals. Like that's why we started our own platform to stream on and do these things, because we know right now, like Pittsburgh scene is not ready for that.
Yeah.
But 5 years down the road,
it's just like it's just like being a wrestler. You got to know where you're at, where you want to get to, and how you're going to get there. That's the way, I think you guys are approaching it. So, I mean, you don't want to like get too far ahead of yourself. You don't want to slow yourself down either. You just got to like have the goal and start chipping away at it. Have your meetings after every fight, get better. That's all you can do, right?
Yep.
Yeah, like
handle the obstacles.
We've checked the numbers, and I think Gladiators was the longest running Pittsburgh promotion. They had 21 events, and this is going to be our 19th.
Yeah.
So like we're coming right up on becoming Pittsburgh's longest running MMA promotion as well.
And it feels like you guys just started it.
Exactly. That's what I mean. Yeah, it feels like we're just getting started.
Yeah, and Pinnacle did 18 shows.
Yeah.
So this is the show that we're now like had an additional show. Now, some of our shows were without a crowd. Some of our shows were because of COVID, and sometimes we had one time we had back-to-back shows like in the same day.
Was that too much?
No, I think we had to then. We had such limit to the crowd size that like in order to do it, we had to.
So weird. We had to go through that.
It is bizarre.
It was interesting. We definitely had interesting things. Like we had shows with no crowd whatsoever. Like
I know.
Just
I was
us.
there. I was there.
And like who else did that? Like we've been through things. We had
I mean, I don't even know how that's possible.
Same.
Right?
It really was like
it makes it look so easy now to have to deal with the stuff that you're dealing with.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, so and so gave us back 30 tickets. Like, oh well, sold 70 still.
The funny thing is, like, today there was a fighter that was on the card that got injured, and they were like, "Oh man, he consigned like he was gonna sell a bunch of tickets," and I was like, "No big deal."
Yeah,
Like,
roll with the punches. Roll with the punches a lot better.
Oh man,
it's amazing what adversity does to you. Right, you have to have it. Too.
Yeah,
you have to go through it.
I would not wish the COVID, like what we went through with COVID, I wouldn't wish that on anyone.
No.
Like, it was awful.
The crazy thing is about that, I know it's getting late. You guys probably want to go, but to watch what Dana White did with the whole situation when the world was like, we're shutting off, and he's like, I'm not. He was the only one.
Yeah, truly.
And he really, if he doesn't do that, I mean, where's the sports world? How far back does that push everything?
Yeah.
Because if he says, all right, we're not having any MMA fights until this is over, that's 2 years. What happens to all the fighters in that time? We don't think about that, but I mean, I give him a lot of credit for stepping up. I remember, like, I was even like, wow, I can't believe he's having a fight when all this right in the middle of this stuff. And he's like, I'll make an island. I don't care. You know, I'll do whatever it takes. I'm not stopping this train. And that's the kind of leadership you have to survive that kind of stuff. We had our own little, situation, how we all handled COVID here. But without you guys having fights, I mean, how many guys do I lose that, like you're saying, like who are the guys that had all that potential never really got? Well, I mean, I'm sure that time period knocked it, because you got kids that are coming out of college. They got a little transitional time. I'm going to be a fighter. I'm going to be a fighter. Or I'm going to get a job. I'm going to get a job. Well, COVID hits. Well, it's easier to get a job.
I'm getting a job. Yeah.
I'm getting a job home. And they can't come just right back. They're like, hey, I'm going to quit my
And it was
job.
easy to get a job then, too, because no one wants to work.
Yeah, true. So, I mean, I think having MMA was like one of the only sports that I really can think of that just forged through like they did.
Yeah.
And I mean, you guys did it. UFC obviously did it. I did it for Bellator. I don't know how many fights I had to go to. How many COVID tests I had to take.
Oh, yeah, those swabs.
Yeah, we wouldn't have had. Yeah.
Your guys had the worst swabs ever. I got a bloody nose one time.
I know.
Yeah, we heard that
guys,
quite a bit.
It was in my brain. I'm pretty sure I bled in my brain.
Yeah. And he's
a nice guy.
He is, but he had like if you didn't like.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got it. Dempsey got it too, which I'm like, you can do it to me, but if you want, that's another level.
Dude, Dempsey had the worst one. I think it was Bitby 9, maybe. He got swabbed, vicious, like tears rolling everywhere. But then the guy or the nurse handling it, somebody
Messed
didn't
it up. He had to do it again.
had
I
to
remember that. He
redo
was
it.
so mad.
I had to come get Dempsey, and he thought I was joking at first. I'm like, Dempsey, I'm sorry, man. You got to get. He's like, oh, good one, bro. Good one. I'm like, dude, I'm sorry. I'm actually serious right now. He's like, no.
I didn't know about
Yeah.
that.
Oh yeah, I
Yeah.
remember that. He was so mad.
Oh, dude, the double swab.
Yeah.
The
I hated that. Oh.
So brutal.
that's funny.
Yeah.
I'd rather do a Shark Tank at the factory on a Sunday with like Dempsey and Julian and Jake Lowry and Trent than get swabbed
That-
one time.
That says it all
Yeah.
right there. To rather sign up for that.
Oh man, my eyes would just water for like 10 minutes.
Yeah. And we didn't get swabbed for some
Yeah,
reason.
that's what I was gonna say.
Yeah.
They
Yeah,
never made
I
us
did.
do any of that.
I did.
Like,
Doesn't
Yeah,
make
you
any
guys-
sense.
if
No, none of it made any sense.
No,
to me.
looking back,
I'm
it's just like,
what is
wow.
going on? I mean, I get it.
do you know how much I paid
I know
for those
I know,
original
you told
tests?
me. Yeah,
It was insane.
it was crazy. I can't. That's why I can't believe the obstacles they were thrown at you. Now it's like you don't have to worry about that.
Well,
You should tell yourself that every fight. Like we don't have COVID tests. We got fans.
so the
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. The funny thing is, I remember when so if you remember, we had the March 14th show that got canceled, and then the world like opened back up again. We could have limited crowds, and that's when we scheduled the November cards.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
So we had 2 Thanksgiving
I
week,
remember.
the day before Thanksgiving and Saturday after Thanksgiving.
Yep.
And the like 2 weeks before Allegheny County shut down, we couldn't have a
I
crowd.
remember.
And so that's the
Unreal.
only reason why we had that show. And after all that happened with COVID, I remember like getting into the fighter group and being like, we're not allowed to have crowds. And like, we will have this show if you guys want to, because I've already spent a
Yeah.
lot of money and I'm going to spend a lot more money having a show and I'm going to lose a lot of money. But like, I don't want to hear anything.
Yeah.
If you guys want to fight, we can have
We'll put it
fights.
on,
But
yeah.
like, all the people that bought tickets are getting vouchers, and like
That's all you can
they
do.
saw when they signed up for it, that's what the deal was. And I don't want to hear anything. If you guys want to still fight, like we're doing it, but like, tell me now.
Think about how that's transformed how you handle issues though, without going through that. Now
Yeah.
you know how to drive around that stuff
Yeah.
way better. Like you've become almost like masters of it.
It also helped us to like figure out, okay, we don't. So the biggest problem I had, like if you use, I'm not gonna poop on anyone, but like Fight TV or someone like any of those things, it was like you couldn't make money.
No.
And so like now we're building something that's ours, that like we're doing our own.
So what best way to do it?
It's
The best.
but we
And-
would have
and your
never learned how to
production's-
do that had COVID.
Yeah,
not
and your
happened.
production's very good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And but COVID
And you
is
got
why
Cole
we
Masick
learned.
on the mic.
Yeah. Shout out.
Cole Masick.
Cole Masick was supposed to be competing as well. Mr. Schedules a vacation I forgot about.
Yeah.
Goodness, Cole.
Come on, Cole.
You can get away with that
amateur
kind of
hour.
stuff when you're
Come on,
that
Cole.
handsome.
Yeah.
Yeah. when your family is all models, I guess you can just do the
right.
Do something else,
I
man.
remember
He's great.
I had to take tickets to him one time and it was to his house, and I don't know if it's his house or family house, like whatever. But like I go to this house and I like my kids are in the car and I take the tickets to him, and like his sister comes running out of the house, and my son, my oldest son Austin, was like, "Dad, who was that?"
Yeah.
And I was like, probably his sister. Or, I don't know. But
Yeah, they're all like models.
They're
The
like-
man-
That's
the,
awesome.
the mom's got like a 30-pack. The dad's like, jacked.
yeah, I don't know the other
Oh,
one.
yeah,
All I
I've been
know
over
is
to the house a few times.
he is like
Like,
the
what is
most
going on right
attractive
now?
guy I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And like,
Yeah.
and like his sister is
Yeah.
very, very attractive
Yeah.
as well.
My favorite Cole Masick story was Dalton had a Bellator fight, and I brought Cole out to kind of like help me with him,
Mhm.
get warmed up and stuff, and help me coach him. And we're in the Mohegan Sun, and it's when COVID, so we have to stay in our room 48 hours. We can't leave our room. They lock us in there. So I'm in there with Cole Masick for 48 hours. It's me and Cole. And I'm like, this is going to be interesting.
You should have recorded a lot.
Oh my god! So he made this video. This I don't know what he put it on TikTok, but it was this video. I loved it. It was him walking down the street with his like jean cut off jean shorts on and sunglasses, and he's like new boot goofing. He's got his like cowboy boots on. And he's like flicking his heels.
awesome.
I'm dying. I watch this thing. I probably have like, it probably has like, I don't know, 60,000 views. I got 30,000 of them. I just watch it. I used to watch it all the time when I start laughing.
New boot
So,
goofing.
He's doing this the whole time. Like he got to go to the bathroom, goofing. I'm dying. I'm looking at my bed. We're watching movies. He's like over there flicking his ankle, and it's making me laugh. Like I had 48 hours of Cole Masick just making me laugh the whole time.
That's hilarious.
And yeah, that's probably, I mean, way better than being by myself. But yeah, we made it through the COVID quarantine for that one. Dalton got a win. Then he's out new boot goofing after the fight in the restaurant.
That's so good, man.
I loved his play-by-play for the Visoki knockout.
Oh yeah,
So
it's
good.
And
unreal.
he's like, "Oh my god!" Like,
He's made for that.
Except he made it
Yeah.
sound good. Like,
Yeah,
it didn't
yeah.
sound
Brothers
like that.
is getting, he's in the WWE.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Getting developmental program. He's actually, I think he's in something next now. I think, or I'm not real sure.
I didn't know
NXT.
that. Yeah.
NXT. Yeah, he's in NXT.
Danny Palm might know
Danny's
that.
like,
I don't
I'll
know.
tell you.
Gina's in it too. Dalton's girlfriend.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, she's doing awesome too.
Yeah,
But,
NXT.
Yeah, and I'm thinking to myself, his brother can do this. He can definitely do it too, right?
Mm.
He is like made for that.
You would
stuff.
think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He can talk. you
Got
know,
the
he
look
can-
for
yeah.
sure. Yeah.
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 I guess. I mean, they might like. He might.
They
be
should
too
do.
good
Those
looking
two
for-
would be tag team like brother
Oh,
partners.
that would be sick.
That'd be sick.
What's his? Has he been in the gym?
Yeah, he was coming up quite a bit when he thought he had a match before he
Yeah.
realized I was getting him. You know, we're recalibrating everything. He's got so much potential. He's a freak. You know, he's
Yeah.
a athletic
Mhm.
freak. And
Well, I
he
mean,
makes grappling easy. He's just like, oh, just do this, and I'm like showing him stuff, and I'm like, what the heck?
when,
Yeah,
Sure,
Cole,
do
just
that, Cole.
Just do that, Cole.
Yeah.
so like Cole's an example of like a guy who doesn't need to be getting punched in the face,
Yeah.
and like because he's like super successful, and I knew like
That's,
I
that's
told-
exactly what I was talking about. If you're not 100% in it, like,
Yeah.
no, and I love the kid. Like,
Yeah.
I love him. Like, he's great. He coaches now his youth program, and
well
he's doing amazing at his job.
yeah, and he's like
Yeah.
He's a picture of success.
Exactly.
And so, like, after he had that loss, I said, and I he was banged up. Like, he was,
Yeah.
he had some significant things with that camp. But I told them, I was like, he may not, like,
He did. He did.
I was like, he may never fight again.
And that dude was a beast.
Yeah,
was
that
a beast.
has stood the test
DeWitt
of time.
Dixon.
DeWitt's still doing great
Doing
things.
great
yeah.
things.
Yeah.
And that was a tough. I knew that was a tough fight. He got banged up, you know, real close to the fight. But it was one of those ones like, man, I'm at hometown. I sold a lot of tickets. I'm gutting this out. And he did. And you know what? In his case, though, like, you got to look at the big picture. Maybe it was the best thing.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
for him
for
because-
I don't
sure.
blame anyone. Like,
No, I mean, could he have done well in MMA? Absolutely, but I mean, he
Yeah,
didn't make a bad
he-
choice, you know.
Yeah.
He can grapple. I really hope he keeps grappling and doing stuff like that.
Yeah.
I mean, that really made me happy seeing Cole back in the gym working hard, just being
Yeah.
a part of the team, and you know,
with his cowboy boots.
yep, he had his boots on. He's over there goofing after practice. Yeah, I gotta send you that video. It's hilarious.
We've seen on Fury grappling dudes wear wrestling shoes a good bit. So
Yeah.
maybe we should let Cole wear cowboy boots for his. Let him wear
Yeah.
the boots into the cage.
I wonder if anyone's gonna wear a singlet. Clay Guida always wears. A
I know.
Singlet.
I love that too.
Yeah, maybe I'll talk to him.
You can do it. There you go.
I'm not wearing a singlet.
Dude, you get
My
into that
singlet days
UPJ
are over.
singlet. Dude, you could find like someone to sponsor you. You could wear their singlet.
Oh, I'm not doing that.
He's like, no. But
No.
Dempsey, if
Dempsey
Dempsey
would.
wears a singlet, that would
Yeah.
be pretty epic.
Shane Valco could get away with it still.
That,
Yeah.
I think,
Oh, yeah.
I think we could challenge Dempsey into doing it. Like, Dempsey, it'll be awesome.
I don't think he
do it.
will.
No?
He's pretty conservative.
But
Shane
he-
would do it,
But
though.
he has
All right.
that like funny
He
side
might.
too.
He
though.
does. That's one thing that people don't realize about Demps. Like he is the hardest dude I've ever met. Like he is like he should have been like a Marine, you know.
Drill sergeant.
He should have been like that. But he is a sweetheart behind it, and he's funny. Like
He is funny.
he is funny. Like he'll like that's what he's talking about with like Roman and Julian and DJ.
Just talking
Those guys,
smack.
Jermaine, like he loves that stuff. Like he dives into it. And, like he eggs them on all the time in the gym when you get him going. But he always like he'll like weirdly like throw one at me, and I'm like, I did not see that coming. Like that was masterful right there.
Well, well, do you remember when there was all the smack talk between like your guy, like the Mad Factory guys, and like a bunch of Gorilla House guys, and like they were was like they were going.
It got a little bit too. It was the funny part was the whole time I'm like, it was based about Julian, and Julian. I'm like, Julian, are you getting mad because Roman was defending Julian,
right?
And then you're coming back, and I'm like, and I know those guys, so I'm like, I know they're just. And I'm like, Julian, are you getting upset about this? He's like, no, I love it. This is awesome. I'm like, oh, okay. I thought it was fun. I thought it was a funny take. Well,
that's the funny thing is reading it, I thought that Julian and his brother
Roman
were like having fun, and I thought that like Caden,
because I think they do this stuff all the time. Caden, and what Caden's like wrestling. It was Caden's George Mason teammates were like they're hardcore D1 wrestlers. No one messes with our guy. So they're like coming back hard, and then Julian and Roman are just like, don't cut. This is our ballpark. Like, we don't want to play with this.
That was so.
And they
were
like. They get. I mean, I'm the whole time I'm cringing. Like, stop this.
Well, the funny
I'm texting Roman like, do not say anything else. Roman's like, I promise I won't. And then like 2 minutes later, he's like, I couldn't help it. I'm like, you gotta stop.
The whole time I'm reading that, I'm thinking like, what's Isaac doing right now? Like,
they know. They know. I gotta listen to it all the time though, so I kind of know where they, they're funny. Like I love having that around the gym. It's funny, but to a certain point.
For
sure. Once you start if you start becoming disrespectful, like I'm like, come on. I just makes me like, come on, man.
Yeah.
Because then it's gonna end up being more than it needs to be.
Yeah.
But it is fun to hear them like all the time. Dempsey's good. I'm telling you.
I totally believe that. He's super
gets him
funny.
In there really good, and there's a few people like quiet, like you would never expect, and they just like. They're good. Like Bobby's pretty good. Yeah, Patton, it's pretty good. Cheyenne's great. She can give him out too. So, yeah,
that's because her and Chris can practice.
There you go.
Yeah, she's tough. She's got a fight coming up. Too.
I was just gonna say, shout out Cheyenne having a fight August 5th as well.
Finally, we've been really. I mean, it's been tough. You guys know
she's impossible.
It's tough. So, we got her a great fight, and I'm excited to see her get back in there. I've been training with her a lot too, so she's been feeling really good, and be nice to see her back in there.
Tell us about this new what's it called?
I have no idea.
When you raise money,
fundraiser.
Oh, fundraiser. Yeah, so we just had a party. Funds. We had a party at our friend Lindsay. She's one of our blue belts, but Lindsay's like, she's a teacher, mother, wife, 40s. She is tough as heck. Like she's in there heel hooking like 20-year-old dudes, beating them up. Like she's awesome.
Sprawl in the Burgh too.
Yeah, she should have competed. She's amazing. She trains with all the girls all the time. Hard.
Next one.
I have an opponent for her.
Yeah, she's great. She's competed. She's done well. She's done well. She had an ACL surgery, and we started teaching her leg locks, and now she just leg locks everybody. Matt Schaefer's like I'm gonna teach her leg locks while she's healing up, and now she just rips people's legs off.
Hilarious to learn leg locks while you're rehabbing an ACL injury.
I know. Yeah. Well, we're like, you can, don't touch your legs. We'll teach you this stuff. But
wow,
that's a great example of someone that took advantage of being hurt. Her time off. But we had a party at her house for Memorial Day, and we're all having a good time. And we're thinking about ways of like raising money to get Dempsey and Cody, Cheyenne, out to the grappling trials. And I'm like, man, you'd be the ultimate, because she is the ultimate at this, like the fundraiser booster club president. She's like, I'll do it. So she is on it. I didn't even. I was like, she had that ready, and I'm like, can I post this? I'm like, wait, whoa. But she's done amazing, and I think we're just gonna to see where it goes. But what I love about it is the problem with a lot of times is I get these young kids that just work and they're going, they're spending all their money on grappling tournaments, grappling stuff, food, and rent. So it's nice to be able to like take guys like Lucas Jones, and being like, listen, we want you to go to this tournament, Dallas. So we're gonna fly out there, hotels, compete against the best at your level. And that's how if you really look at it, when we go out there, that's what these teams do. They compete at the high levels, consistently,
Mhm.
and they can tell how they get better when they do it. There's no secret to it. So just to be able to take guys and, like, you know, send Cody, like we sent Cody and Dempsey out there. They competed great. Dempsey qualified. Cody competed with the best guys in the country at his weight. But we wouldn't be able to do that if we didn't raise the funds to help them do that. You know, they work day jobs, and it just gets, you can do it once or twice a year, but when you have to do it consistently, it becomes an issue. So I think it's been maybe a good start to something. But I would love to have, my envision, like, has always been, don't use grappling for any kind of financial thing. Your family's taken care of. I can, I make my living a different way. So use it to build something special that's generational, that's going to last beyond me, like give back to this sport and this community. So I think this, and having the community help us. We have Mogies right down the street. Mogies always donating. He's been at the fights, and like Russ Green, guys like that. Like, all these people are always helping us. So give them some recognition in our gym. Maybe, hang up a banner, hand out their, I'd rather send all our business that people need something done to go to them, or if they need to, whatever it is, give them the business because they're helping us out. And at the same point, we can send these athletes that we know that they can compete at this level. Let's prove it. Let's get out there. Even if they don't win, we can see where we need to make improvements, get them back in here and keep sharpening that. If we can do this properly, like, our vision is, like, we could be one of the top grappling teams, in the East Coast, I believe. So that's where we're really trying to do that. But we need the funding. So it's been nice. And Lindsay's been a big part of that, and Gina, one of our black belts, Gina Tallarico, and, just using our connections,
That's super exciting.
We'll post the highlights of this podcast on social media, and we'll put a link for anyone that wants to.
It's great to see, because I haven't really looked at it much, but I did glance at it and seen some of my friends I haven't even talked to, like, donate, and, like, even if it's $20, it's just to see that name connected, being like, man, you're supporting. It's not about me, it's not about Dempsey, it's really about the growth of these athletes. And when you see people with dreams, this is what my life is. The biggest part about my life is, if I see someone with a dream, I want to support that if they're really committed to it, because it makes, I don't know, it just has a spiritual connection for me when I see that. So I have that. I have these people, and I know that's a short window, right? If you don't just go after it, it's going to be easy for that flame to dry out. So when I see these young, I'm like, man, you could really do something in this sport. You could really be something special. I'm like, I'll do whatever I can, and to help see that happen. So, in MMA as well, MMA is the same thing. So we run into that problem a lot. A lot of times we're like, hey, we want to get you down to Coconut Creek to, do some training, but it costs money. I can't expect a fighter that has a job and a family, take 6 weeks off of work to go train a fight, get the sparring that they need or whatever. And then the good thing is, like we're talking about, Pittsburgh's become a place where I feel confident that we can get it done here. But it is nice to have those options. We have the connections, we have the relationships, the best gyms in the world around the country. If someone needs something, at a certain place, it's nice to be like, hey, we'll just send the person out there, for a couple of days, for a couple of weeks or a week or whatever, just to help them out. So, Demps did that, Dom did that back in the day, and I think it really helped them. But yeah.
Where did Demps go?
Demps has been all over. They went to Black Zillions, ATT. They went to Fortis. They went to Octagon out in Dallas.
Wow.
How did you get so close with ATT?
So my instructor, Baga, Rodrigo Ramos, is one of the original founders of ATT back in the day when Dan started it. Baga worked for Dan as an IT guy back, actually.
Wow.
And then Baga was a coach there and branched out and opened up ATT Davie in Weston. And then I forget, years ago, I just, hey, can I send Dempsey down, train? Yeah, sure, blah, blah, blah. And then it just started with that. And then Dalton went down, Cody went down, and got a great relationship with Mike Brown. He's amazing. Just being around someone like that's pretty special.
Are
The
you
good thing
tight
is
with Mike?
Yeah.
I mean, you guys are cornering, all the
Yep.
time
Yeah.
together. But
I would have cornered this Cody tomorrow, which breaks my heart. I'm not there, but I have my wrestling camp I run next week, and it's just too much for me to take off. But talk to Cody today, I'll talk to Mike probably tomorrow a little bit just to touch base with those guys, let them know I'm with them, supporting them.
I think it's pretty. It shows a lot that those guys like. I've always your selflessness is one of those traits we were talking about earlier. That like, the fact that you will have a fighter and you'll recognize that like this is where you need to leave here and go down there to get to that to level where you need to be.
I mean, a good coach should recognize things like that.
I
or
think
support.
that's
Or
true,
support too.
and that's a selfless thing that a lot of people don't have. And so part of that goal we were talking about for us is for us to build it up so that like it's to a level where like the guys don't have to go down there.
Yeah.
Like
It's
we have enough fighters at a high level.
It's not even that, the coaching,
Mhm.
I mean, the coaching has been on a rise. There's some really good coaches out there that know the sport in the area that I would trust cornering anybody that, any of our guys or myself, so like when we go away, like Mike cornered Dempsey this weekend, we don't even ask, we just expect it. And we had a talk, Mike and I were on the phone right after, like going through everything together. And like, I was listening to him coach. Everything he's saying spot on. Like
Mike
exactly.
has come
walking
so far.
walking Dempsey through everything. And Dempsey's like, we just consider it like part of our family, part of our team. Like when we're away, like I just go, Mike, I got a mat. I'm on mat 6. He's like, I got you. Comes over, knows how to prep me. And he knows me. He knows what I need. And if him or
But that's a hard transition. Like those guys that like were at that. I mean, Mike had a tough time. Like
Mike is a student. Like we're talking, Mike's a student of the sport, and Will, having someone that understands that other side of the sport too, like the striking side, to like to have that is huge. I've always kind of like had Philip Amaris with me, and obviously great boxing coaches around as well, like Matt. Chris Williams now has been in the gym a lot. Richie's been in our gym a lot. Chris has been helping tremendously. His knowledge is phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very impressed with what Chris Williams brings to the MMA world. He's as high level that I've seen striking too.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, having guys like Matt working with Cody all the time, and have Will work with Mike, I think you need that just to kind of like tie things together. And Mike is very intelligent. He understands like once it gets into where I can really help, I'm going to take over, drive the ship. And then if I'm outside that ship, you're driving the ship. And then, also if I see something. So I think it's good to have that dynamic. But in the practice room, Mike excels as well. I've seen him.
Oh yeah.
I've seen him in the practice room. He's really good at like really breaking things down one-on-one, helping people understand things. It's very hard. It's very difficult sometimes. It's very easy to get frustrated. Because everyone learns differently. And that's the one thing. And, I've seen great athletes, great competitors not be so great at like explaining things. And I think that as good as an athlete Mike was in a fighter, I think his way of like communicating that with the fighters is great. He's really good at that. And he's good at like pre-game planning and post, bringing things back from the fights too. So he's been really good. I think there's a lot of underrated people too that people don't even know about that I think have a lot of respect for. Like Darren, obviously, amazing. He gets it. Ray's really good too. They get those two together.
Mm-hmm.
When you watch them actually in a corner, you're like, oh, that's pretty high level.
Yeah.
And and I've been in the corners with some of the best coaches in the world, and I know, I can sit back and be like, man, those guys are just. They're doing the same. They're saying the same things. You know what I mean? They're directing. They're directing it the same way. But yeah, a lot of my friends, like Tommy Costa, is a great underrated coach. He spent a lot of time. No one even knows, that that Tommy's a great, not just a grappling coach, but he's a good MMA coach. He understands a lot of the MMA. But yeah, I think that it's been pretty fun to be able to see everyone in Pittsburgh, not just fighters, but the coaches progress like they have too.
Yeah.
And now kind of Kama's following in that.
Kama is a great coach. Kama's a great coach. He leads by example, which I love about Kama. he's not going to do
He's
it.
super quiet and like
Yeah, yeah. He's like, nothing makes my day better on a Sunday. And I'm in, rolling into the math factory, and then here comes Kama. I'm like, oh yeah, here we go. This is gonna be fun. Kama's always laughing. He's like looking at me.
Iconic laugh.
Yeah. It's like, I was rolling with Dempsey. I'm like, your neck messed up. He's like, yeah, can you help me out? I'm like, yeah, I got you. But he's a Pittsburgh, like, think about that, Think about how far MMA has come, what we watch Kama go out and do, and he's still in it. Like, he's not ready to be done.
Yeah.
Boxing a week after BitB 17, right? Is that July 22nd? When's his boxing match? Yeah. Crazy.
He's amazing.
Yeah.
So he's a special human, man. He is.
Truly.
Yeah.
Truly one of a kind, man.
Yeah.
Again, another one that you can add to the list that we're just honored
That's what
to
I'm
have
saying.
here.
Like,
Yeah,
our,
it's crazy.
Our whole city is just filled with these kind of people. Like, we can talk about so many different people. Like, and I love, that's what I love doing too. Like, I'm glad we got some time to talk about some of these people, about, what they bring to the table and what their role has been, in developing this thing that we got going on.
Yeah. Well, go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say we get people that come to us sometimes and like be involved like in the promotion and like we there's times where we're like trying to find a fit. Like we want to have people involved that want to be involved, and sometimes we're like, let us think about this. But it's such a difference from the 4 years that we've been doing this, where we were like begging people to help us at the beginning, and now
now everyone's pouring out.
We
That's
have
the way it
people that
is.
we can't
Yeah.
even plug in, and it's just, I think the whole scene, the whole combat sports scene in Pittsburgh is on the up, and I think we're gonna keep
keep doing
pushing
great
for that.
things. It's been, obviously fun to watch. I'm a fan as well, so it's been a lot of fun.
We appreciate that, man. The next step on that journey, July 14th, Isaac versus Gray Maynard, and so much more that we talked about.
Yeah, we
you
talked
got to
about
plug
a
the
lot.
event.
Sorry,
You got to plug the
Ray
event.
Maynard.
I hope everyone didn't stay up for this one.
Yeah, this is
I hope they
what
did.
time
It's gotta
are
be
we
a
at?
record.
Oh, nice. Little over 2 hours.
Really, at 2? Yeah.
Well, the Taylor Cahill episode was like 3, but an hour of that was waiting on him to show up.
Oh,
to the studio.
Wait till I say something.
Yeah, you got-
a fight coming up.
Yeah, he does. You got to get on him,
Yeah.
man.
Well, that's the thing. When we have a live, like we're going live.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah,
there
yeah.
or not.
Oh my gosh. I'm
Oh,
gonna
it's
say something to
beautiful.
him.
51 minutes late, Isaac.
51.
51.
Oh, wow. He is coming from a little
Yeah.
bit farther away.
Did he not?
Yeah.
Did he not know that?
Maybe, yeah.
You were coming from Clarion.
That's true.
I'm not letting Taylor live that one down, man.
Yeah, this is
that
a
was too
forever
fun.
thing.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
too fun.
That's funny. I'm sure you guys had stuff to talk about though. To
Oh
fill the
yeah.
gap.
Yeah. Me and Ryan can talk a little bit
Yeah.
We've been known to.
Yeah.
for sure. Well, thanks for coming in, man.
Yeah, thank you guys.
This was awesome. Picking your brain is a true honor, man.
Yeah.
Having you on the podcast,
Appreciate
having
it.
you in here. Let's keep growing this thing, dude.
Yeah,
We're
I'm in.
both.
I'm down. Whatever you guys need, I'm in.
Let's do
Thanks,
it.
man.
Do it.